No, that Trump situation, and the Trumpsters, the Trumpkins, the whatever, there's a variety of names for them. You know what I'm saying? But they're going crazy today. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to take it by force. Now they just said recently that if they don't get what they want, you got the QAnon, you got the conspiracy theorists, you got the Proud Boys, you got a variety of skinheads and white supremacy groups that are saying that if they don't get what they want, they're gonna start killing. Now, when you have a mob of white MAGA hat wearers, you know what I'm saying, that's nothing new for us. No. That's all. Anytime we seen a mob of people, specifically white, come together, and talk about killing people, the main thing they talking about is killing who? Us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We've always been at the end of the rope, so to speak, when it came to a lynch mob. So that's nothing new for us. You know what I'm saying? As a we've been here for 400 years, and all it takes is for somebody to say we whistled at a white woman, or we looked the white man in the eye, or we wouldn't move on the sidewalk when we saw them coming, and there would be a whole mob coming after us in jail, wherever we would be, from our snatch yourself from the houses. You know what I'm saying? You see what they did to Emmett Till? You know what I'm saying? Snatched him up, told his mama, we just want to talk to him. Told Emmett Till's mom, we're just going to talk to him and we'll bring him right back. Never seen his son again. You know what I'm saying? Then after they beat him, and then they beat him badly first. And then with his eyes, everybody saw the photos. You know what I'm saying? All the video. You know what I'm saying? Because she let it be an open casket. Then they shot him in the head from ear to ear. He had a bullet hole going from one side of his ear to the other side of his ear. And then, if that ain't bad enough, they tied barbed wire around his neck, and they had one of them farmers, them farmer windmills. Mm-hmm. They took the barbed wire, tied it to a windmill, and threw it in the lake with his body attached to it. And some divers had to find Emmett Till.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So we already know, and that was just because they said he was whistling at a white woman. You know what I'm saying? So anytime you got a mob of angry white men together, they always seem to exact or manifest their anger out on us. We've always had to be the end of the tail, or the reason of getting beat, or the purpose, or you know what I'm saying, for them having a temper or finding some type of rage about them. Mm-hmm. It's nothing new for us as a people. So, I mean, we just got to stay on guard and prepared and wise. You know what I'm saying? Be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. But if there comes a time you got to protect yourself, then you have to protect yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know what angle or direction they're coming from. But one thing that we do know is that the Most High is involved in every single thing that we watching today. Every single thing that we see on TV, or whether it be Twitter or people's live feed from social media, what we're watching is exactly what the Most High has in store and in plan for this place. And that's what we're going to talk about today. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be today's class. So just about, is it some type of coincidence that they stormed the Capitol? This has never been seen in our generation, in our time, where somebody has stormed the Capitol building. You know what I'm saying?
So they said one person died.
One person got shot.
One lady got shot,
right? They said one body. Now, first and foremost, before we continue, if this was black protesters storming the Capitol building,
it would have whole different world.
We already know what that death toll would look like. We already know.
It would be one.
When you watch these videos, you see these people like you see the people storming the steps, and the police are like giving in. Really, not a lot of pushing back and forth, and eventually they just conceded to the push, and this allowed the people to come up the stairs and kick the building in, break the windows. That we can't even have a peaceful protest without police using some type of rubber bullets, pepper spray, or percussion grenades. You know what I'm saying? To back the people. Water hoses from the fire department. We've seen pictures of just peaceful protests of us getting sprayed down in the 1950s and 60s on a peaceful level, getting bricks thrown at us, or fire department spraying us down with hoses, or police dogs attacking us. But you got these people, they protest, and they get to storm the entire. We can't even get past the barricade on the street. without getting ran down, shot at, or killed, let alone allowed to storm a federal building. You see what Trump did when he felt like the White House was being threatened and he wanted to do a press conference at the church across the street. He made sure that the intelligence agencies came in and bombarded everybody, did a whole sweep, and pushed all the protesters out of the way so he can get a photo op. He can get a photo op at the church holding the Bible. I didn't see it, but some people say the Bible was upside down.
Yeah, I heard that.
You know what I'm saying? That's how you know. That's how you know he wasn't even looking at the Bible. It was just a photo op to show in the moment of crisis, you can depend on me with the Bible upside down. I got to go back and look at that photo because I believe he had the Bible upside down or something. But it just shows you it's not about the Bible. It's not about law. It's not about looking like a man of God. This man has done beauty pageants all his life and flew into Epstein's Island dealing with young teenage girls. That's all he's been dealing with. This man's not a man of the Most High. He's a businessman. He's a politician.
It's not upside down, bro.
It's not. Okay, well, some people say he was reading in the church.
It might be.
Maybe when he was in the church, check and see if he was in the church having the Bible upside down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it's upside down was right side up to Esau.
To Esau, yeah. It was the right way for him. You know what I'm saying? But what we're watching in today's news is already been prophesied. You know what I'm saying? It's already been prophesied. We're going to visit it. And even if we got to take a couple of days to really jump on this topic, it's all good because this situation is not going anywhere no time soon. They said in the next few days it's only going to get worse because you have the people feeling like the campaign was stolen, and that's kind of the message that he's been using to incite, these antagonists and these protesters. You know what I'm saying? He's been using the idea, "Stop the steal" is the slogan. Stop the steal. So they got these individuals hyped up that it wasn't a fair election, it was rigged, he was robbed out of his position, so now we got to take it by force. And they're ready to take it by force. You got 80 million, supposedly 80 million Trump supporters that are registered gun owners that are on his side to take power by force. So we're going to see what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But we got to understand, what does this mean for us? What does it mean for them? And what does it mean for us? You know what I'm saying? In this modern day time of uncertainty, because we don't know how this is going to play out. You know what I'm saying? It may start off just, hey, we stormed the Capitol building. But that might inspire them to storm other buildings in other cities. You know what I'm saying? And they have an agenda, you know what I'm saying? Which is to promote him as a dictator, as a leader. You know what I'm saying? And if it's going to be a coup, they're all for it. They're prepared. They're prepared to stack bodies up like it was said in one Twitter feed. Or, you know what I'm saying? We're prepared to stack bodies up.
Well, it's their country out and they're hot because they're getting penetrated by other nations and dead. And it's a lot of problems about it.
And that's what we're going to deal with because this has been prophesied. And but we got to see what is our saving grace, so that's what we're going to deal with. But first of all, shalom everybody.
Shalom.
The water for watching. Shalom to the brothers in Virginia, ISBHPK Virginia, ISBHPK Houston, and the new ISBHPK Rochester that Kazaki and Quatazab is dealing with right now. The brothers up there expanding the truth, expanding this knowledge, expanding and getting this word out. So we want to say the water for them, the water that Kawakal and Guatemala teaching this word, and for the brothers he's been teaching in California. Shalom at the water to Amiyatazar out in London, spreading this gospel in London. And we're going to keep spreading this gospel. But we also got to look at where are we at in this time. We know we're in the last days. That is evident. But what is what we're watching today in the news? How does that pertain to us? How does that deal with us? Where should our minds be at? You know what I'm saying? How should we be motivated looking at what we're watching on TV? What looks like entertainment, but it's actually serious because this can easily be a fire starter or an ignition switch for something greater, and so we want to look at that today. So the first thing we're going to go into is Isaiah chapter 40, verse 1, which we have it on the screen. We have that on the screen, so we'll say shalom to everybody paying attention. So Isaiah chapter 40, verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 40, verse 1. Comfort ye, my people, saith your power.
So first of all, you know what? As we watching these things, that may seem like a tragedy because the people that I ran into today in discussing this, the ones that showed me the video, that wasn't even where my mind was at on the news at the time, but that brought the video to my attention, they were shaking. The person that brought the video to my attention to show me this was in fear and was almost panicking. And they were in fear, like, oh my God, they're storming. Oh, look, did you see this? They're storming the Capitol. No, I didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention. But you know what? Let me see the video. Oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I don't know what you're going to do, but I know what we're going to do. You know what I'm saying?
Black man.
Yeah, so now it's like, let's gather together. We're one nation now. You know, you should be concerned, like I should be concerned. And who brought it to my attention? I was buying something from an Edomite lady. You know what I'm saying? And at a store. And I'm like, I know what's happening with you, but I know what's going on with us. You know, so in my mind, yeah, you get to feel how we've been feeling for a long time. You get to feel that uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen with the government. Well, it's a fact. It's been proven. The government has rarely been on our side. There have been campaigns, institutions. There's been government taxation money set aside to destroy the black and brown communities. These are facts.
Special interest groups.
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover, COINTELPRO, these are facts that they've infiltrated our communities to destroy any type of black harmony, black unity, brown harmony.
Stability?
Yeah, brown stability. These are facts that they've had CIA operations to bring in cocaine from large amounts from Central and South America and to infiltrate the streets, find peddlers, and push this on a large scale to destroy the inner city and the black youth of America. And they brought in the drugs. They bring in the guns. We don't make the guns here in America. We don't make them. We don't distribute them. We don't have the metals necessary to make them. We don't have the machinery to make them, except for 3D printing. But we don't do that anyway. But that's them. They bring in the weapons. And you look at every city with high crime rates, and what feeds their department is crime. When there's no crime, there's no need for a police force. There's no need for new uniforms. There's no need for new batons. There's no need for new buildings, new jails. It's all part of a machine that's fed by us, by our bodies, by our blood. So this machine is fed by us. So for us, we've always been the target and the perpetrator of other people's racism or, instability. So you're watching now that you got fear coming at other people seeing today's events. But I wanted the class to kind of focus on, hey, what should our mind be like? What stance should we take in watching this? Should we go out and be pro-Trumpers and go to the Capitol and root them on for taking over the Capitol, and then next to take over the World Trade Center, whatever the case may be? Or is that our focus? No. What does the scripture say?
Isaiah chapter 40, verse 1. Comfort ye my people.
And this is the Most High telling us as we watch these situations unfold. This is just the beginning. This is the beginning. As we watch these situations unfold on television, he says, comfort ye my what?
Comfort ye my people.
Go ahead.
Saith your power.
Go ahead. Why?
Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem.
He says, I want you to tell the children of Israel, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, Native American Indians, Seminole Indians, Argentinians, Brazilians, Mexicans, black and brown people of Caribbean coast, Haiti, that I'm no longer against you. I'm no longer your number one enemy. I'm on your side. This is the Most High telling us, as we watch these things unfold, I'm on your side.
Come.
Read on.
It says, speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her.
And do what?
Cry unto her.
So this whole book of Isaiah is a message from the Most High to the children of Israel. The whole book of Isaiah. The whole audience that Isaiah was speaking to was us. And he said, I have a word for you. He said, I want you to know, regardless of what you see and what you have going on, I want you to understand that I'm no longer angry with you anymore. I'm not your enemy anymore. He said, my warfare with you is what?
It says that her warfare is accomplished.
That the punishment, you've been in captivity for 400 years. You've paid your debts that were based upon your sins. You've embarked on 400 years of terror and horror. And you've seen your people be stripped down to nothing. He said, so now this is not about you. Read on.
It says that her iniquity is pardoned.
And when you pardon somebody, like Trump is doing, has been doing for the last 2 to 3 weeks, knowing that he's about to get out of office, he's been giving his family and his cabinet members a pardon, a political pardon, so that if there's an investigation to where they may see jail time, they're automatically given clearance and freedom to not do any jail or be punished by any courts of law. He's been pardoning all of his friends. He's been trying to even give himself a pardon.
You got to.
You know what I'm saying? That's unheard of. But guess what? As he tries to prepare himself, just in case he may go to jail, the Most High said, listen, I got a good word for y'all, children of Israel. He said, I'm letting go of your sins. Your sins got you in captivity. Your sins got you in this place where you're serving your enemies for one of all things. For food, for water, for clothing, for shelter, for everything. You got to go to your enemy for everything. You want to get married, you got to go to your marriage certificate. You want to get divorced, you got to go see your enemy to get divorced. You want water, you got to go pay your water bill. He said, your sins got you here. He said, but now I'm not your enemy anymore. I'm not angry with you no more. Go ahead.
For she hath received the Lord's hand, received of the Lord's hand, double for all her sins.
He says, what we received in America was double what the Most High intended. A lot of what we received was just extra cruelty put on by our enemies.
Come.
It was just the cruel nature of our enemies, adding on to our already necessary punishment from the Most High. You know, you go to jail in China or Japan, it's almost like you're not in jail. You know what I'm saying? You go to prison over there, it's not like you're not in jail. Everybody has rights. Everybody has an ability to be free. You're not put in a hole 23 hours of a day where there's rats, no AC, and you're in solitary confinement for 6 months on end. The conditions aren't inhumane. You're not allowed outside but just 1 hour out of the day. You do field work. You communicate with each other. It's private. It's really nothing compared to the prison that we have over here, or the jails that we have over here that are overcrowded. You sleeping on steel bunks.
Come.
You're in max capacity jails, max capacity prisons where you're sleeping in bay areas. Some people just have mattresses on the floor.
A slab of concrete, actually.
Yeah, the food that you eat is trash, garbage, and then you work for 15 cents a day. There's no real rehabilitation in this place. He said what we received in this place was double what the Most High had in store. It was just the extra nature of the cruelty of our enemies that made this captivity even worse than what it was. But the Most High said, listen, it's up. I want you to understand that I'm no longer mad at you. That's why there is a need for a celebration that we fulfilled the prophecy of slavery, that we've been in the hand of our captors. But now, what is to become of them? What is the Most High going to do with them? We know what he's done to us. But what does he have in store and prepared for them? That's what we're going to go into. Let's go to Baruch, chapter 4, verse 25. Mm-hmm. Baruch, chapter 4, verse 25.
Baruch, chapter 4, verse 25, reads.
Hold on, let everybody get it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Baruch chapter 4, verse 25 reads, My children, suffer patiently.
He said what?
Suffer patiently.
He said, my children suffer what?
Patiently.
He said, suffer how?
Patiently.
And haven't we been suffering patiently? When you talk to any old person, and you talk to anybody that's been through tragedy in America, they tell you everything's going to be all right. You talk to your grandma, grandpas who've endured being treated like animals. less than humane, they always have a level of patience and confidence that the Most High is going to change it, that everything's going to be okay, even though they've grown up in some of the most horrendous times in America. But that's the mentality that the Most High wants us to have right now as we watch the crumbling of a society. Every society has had its chance to rule. Every society has had its chance to be in power and be in control. But now we're watching America start to lose its grip on its own citizens.
Unraveling.
It's unraveling right before our eyes. But what should we panic like they're panicking? Should we lose it like they're losing it? Because they're really losing it. They've become enemies to each other. And this is not even the first time that it's happened. But it's just the beginning. Yes, sir.
Definition of patient. Bearing provocation, annoyance, misfortune, delay, hardship, pain, etc. with fortitude and calm, and without complaint, anger, or the like.
So he's saying that our time in America has been hard for the black, Hispanics, Native Americans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans. We still don't have a foothold in controlling our own destiny in America, our own lives. Everything is still based upon a handout. Section 8 housing, food stamps, welfare, education. We're still waiting on them to feed us and provide for us. But the Most High said, while you've been in America, he said, I want you to be patient. Go ahead.
My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High.
And the entire time that we've been in America, we've been suffering the whole time. But the Most High said, suffer patiently. It was supposed to happen. It was necessary. Read on.
For thine thou shalt see his destruction.
He says, read again.
But, Salakia.
Read it again.
From the top?
Yeah.
Come. Baruch chapter 4, verse 25. My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High.
So we had to understand, we had to wake up, which Kawakab has been going through 350 years of being in ignorance and of affliction in America. How first we were without the Most High and getting afflicted. Now we started waking up and slowly waking up to the fact of why did the Most High put us in this place? Why did he bring us into this captivity? Why did he allow the transatlantic slave trade where 100 million so-called Negroes have been put to death? Why did he have over 500 million Native Americans here be put to death with smallpox and measles and influenza and flus and viruses, mumps, rubella? Why did the Most High allow this? He said because it was just our time to suffer. But read on.
Suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High.
Go ahead.
For thine enemy have persecuted thee.
And the Most High has allowed our enemy to control us. That's why Emmett Till's mother had no choice but to let her son go outside by this lynch mob. A lot of our mothers don't see their sons no more. They're either in jail or dead. That's why a lot of our mothers are scared to let their children go outside. Because they don't know when they're going to come back. Because it's uncertainty for us as a people. And we had to be patient and endure these things. Read on.
But shortly.
He said, but what?
But shortly.
He says, but even though we've been in America and it feels like nothing was going to change. He says, but shortly what?
Thou shalt see his destruction.
He says, although you've been in America 400 years and it's been painful, but you're going to watch the people that have been your number one enemy and against you, that want to build a wall to keep you out, build prisons to keep you in. He says, but shortly thou shalt see what?
His destruction.
And that's what we're watching. What you're watching when you watch CNN, MSN, NBC, when you're watching these news channels, whatever it is that's displaying this, they don't understand what they're watching. They just see protesters, invading a building. But we have to understand what we're watching. He said what we're seeing is what?
His destruction.
Go ahead.
And shall tread upon his neck.
And he said eventually, after his destruction, we shall what?
tread upon his neck.
He said we're going to be in power. We're going to have control. It's just a matter. It's just a matter of time. When we see their fall, it's the beginning of our rulership. So we should embrace these things that we're seeing, because it's the time that the Most High was. There was a time when He was against us, and now there's a time when the Most High is against them. He says, "Thou shalt tread upon his neck." Right? Read on.
My delicate ones have gone rough ways.
He says, "My delicate ones." We were the Most High's delicate ones. We were the Most High's peculiar treasure. He said, "We've caught hell here in America." Read on.
And were taken away as a flock caught of the enemy.
He says, "We were taken away as a what?
Flock caught of the enemy."
And that's exactly how we got here. We were the ones taken away as a flock caught by the enemy. We were here in Mexico, South Central and South America, in America, and we were caught, captured, and used for property.
In nets, yeah.
In nets, and some of us killed on sight for the purpose of gold, silver, sugarcane, crops, tobacco, all the wheat that was here. They say when the pilgrims arrived, there was wheat that was 6 to 8 feet high, growing. It was the land of milk and honey here in America. You had the buffalo. It was said to be more buffalo than people.
It's all good food. You ain't gonna go hungry.
You never go hungry. But where do they go? We've been spoiled and robbed by our enemy. But he said, listen, it's their turn. Go ahead.
Be of good comfort, O my children.
And that's what we just read in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 1 and 2. Be of good comfort, O my children. So don't get rattled when you see what's going on TV. Don't get rattled when you see the invasion of the Capitol building. Don't get rattled when you see instability in the government. Don't get rattled. Don't get shook up because you don't know what's going to happen with the government in the next few days. He said for us, he said be of what?
Good comfort.
You should be enjoying the show. Because it's necessary as part of their eventual downfall, whom have taken us captors for the last 400 years. Go ahead.
O my children, and cry unto the Most High.
So the more we see these things that's going on TV, we should be calling more on who?
The Most High.
You should be calling on the Most High. The more that we see the destruction and the division and the anarchy that's going on within the government, the more that we should be focused on the Most High. Because that's our Savior. Their president is their Savior.
Yep.
Their president is their answer to all their problems. Our power is our solution. Christ and the Most High is our salvation. That's who we should be focused on even the more amidst all the falling of this government. Read on.
And cry unto the Most High, for ye shall be remembered.
He says, for what?
For ye shall be remembered.
He says, for ye shall be remembered, man. And on the YouTube, on the comments, they said, what about the cotton? Don't forget the cotton. Don't forget all the cotton that we picked here.
Gone.
Where if you didn't pick your weight in cotton weighs ounces. Small ounces. If you didn't pick your weight in cotton for the day, you were tortured. Those are facts.
It's crazy work, bro.
Man, woman, and child. If you didn't pick enough cotton that matched your weight for that day, I feel sorry for the bigger bodies. The bigger bodies would have more trouble. Because if you didn't pick your weight, you was dealt with that day. And then it was a all day affair. Picking cotton was an all day affair. It was sun up to sundown. And you were given leisure on certain Sundays to go to church. And then you were a slave from the time that you were a child until the time you got old and died. There was no options. There were no choices. You were controlled, dominated, and told what to do, and you were told and forced to work in these cotton fields, picking greens, mustard greens, collard greens, picking tobacco, chopping puckwood, picking green beans. Go ahead.
For ye shall be remembered of him.
It says, but the Most High said, amidst all the things that you've done in America, he said, you shall be what?
Remembered of him that brought these things upon you.
He says, ye shall be remembered of the Most High that brought all these things upon you. So what we're watching is the revenge of the Most High executing judgment and bringing judgment upon our enemies for all the things that they've done to us. Now their system is failing. Their system, their government is falling apart. Anybody see that today? Anybody not know what's going on? Because I didn't know. Oh, you didn't? Well, if you watch the news, I know you say you don't, but you didn't. But right now, today, the Trump protesters have stormed the Capitol building, and they've occupied the building. They broke into the building, and they've occupied the entire building.
They had to like throw gas in there and like get the Senate to like put masks on.
Yeah.
So they weren't affected by the gas that was thrown.
And a lot of the senators fled out of the Capitol building. They fled out of tunnels, offices, hidden in offices. They were hiding. They evacuating because they broke in, and their objective is to occupy it and keep it until Trump is put in office. And there were many statements that said, if we don't get what we want from these Trump protesters, then the bodies will be stacked up, and we're going to start killing people. We understand who they're talking
And
about.
there's been some explosions recently too. There's been different states that had
Oklahoma.
yeah.
Yep.
There was a bombing on Christmas also.
That was the Oklahoma bombing, where the guy made an aerosol bomb or a vacuum bomb, and in the trailer that was so powerful it knocked the building down next to it.
Wow.
It collapsed the whole building. That's how strong that damn bomb was. That was homemade. You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't the first Oklahoma City bombing either. You know what I'm saying? Compared to what the one Timothy McVeigh did to the federal building in Oklahoma. That was crazy too. But you're looking at their own people having meltdowns in their own country. But we've been the target of oppression for 400 years. But now you're watching something new. You're watching those that had us in captivity. Now they're starting to attack one another based on beliefs, which we're going to go into as well to show that the Most High had prophesied this. This is all things that the Most High said were supposed to come of this place. It's actually right on schedule.
Huh?
You know what I'm saying?
What a coincidence, man.
Right. I'm not sure what that is.
That's his name.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
For ye shall be remembered of him that brought these things upon you.
He says, for ye shall be what?
Remembered of him that brought these things upon you.
This is called justice, man. Because these same people that brought all this slavery and tragedy upon us, lynching, mutilations, rape, and pillaging upon us, now they're falling apart. And so you have to understand what you're seeing when you see the meltdown of America. Falling down, so to speak, of America. It's the Most High looking out for us and not forgetting about all the things we went through in slavery.
It's been morally collapsed. Education system's collapsed. You know, the college system's collapsing. You can't get a job with certain things you go spend all this money for. And now you're seeing the literal building.
Yep.
That's symbolic, guy.
It's very symbolic. It's very symbolic that and you know, when you look at the history of America, America was founded off Roman principles, Egyptian principles, and Babylonian principles.
Ah.
America was founded off Babylon's principles based on the sorcery of the Chaldeans, the pharmacology,
Yeah.
the witchcraft of Babylon. They have adopted the Roman government. They've adopted the Senate, having a democracy, having a president or a Caesar being elected. This is based off Roman principles. Same thing with the knowledge of Egypt. All of their academia and their schools and educational system is based off the Egyptian knowledge that the Greeks took. Everything's based upon a previous culture. And now you're watching the Most High bringing judgment upon it. It's not time for us to get nervous. It's not time for us to get afraid, to get shook up. This is justice. And that's what we're going to go to now. Go ahead, let that go and go to 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, and start at verse 12.
Maccabees chapter 6.
I got it. It's Quan.
I got it. Let's go. 2 Maccabees chapter 6.
12.
2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 12. But now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem.
Is that 2 Maccabees?
No, that's 2 Maccabees. Not me.
Now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities.
So he says, I'm begging you that for those that read this book, which is us, the believers. He says that they be not what?
Discouraged. Discouraged for these calamities.
So when you watch these calamities on television, on news channels, on the newspaper, he says, don't be discouraged. It's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be this way. It's necessary. Read on.
But that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction.
It says, for the things that we've gone through in America, it wasn't so that we could be completely wiped out. What it was made for was for us to endure a certain level of punishment that was brought upon us because of our sins. But now that those sins are up, the punishment for those sins is up. He says, her warfare is accomplished. Speak comfortably to Jerusalem. You have a Savior on his way. But before Christ comes, things must fall apart. This society, this structure, this system must be brought down before the coming of Christ. And we're going to prove that in Daniel. We're going to go to Daniel chapter 2 in a second. But read on.
But for a chastening of our nation.
He says what we've gone through in America was for what?
A chastening of our nation.
The picking the cotton, being used as gator bait, being tarred and feathered, actual tar and actual feathers like a chicken. Won't you know when your body's completely covered in tar, the largest organ on your body is your skin. Your skin breathes. So when you actually get tarred completely, put in tar, it's not just for jokes. You actually suffocate. You actually suffocate because your skin breathes also. So being tarred and feathered, you actually die. Wow. But you look like a chicken running around. It's a mockery. We've been pulled apart by horses. See, they always want us to remember the Alamo. They always want us to remember their exploits and their times that they were heroic and they were conquered or they were oppressed and they put up a valiant fight. They want you to always celebrate the 4th of July, their day of independence.
D-Day.
D-Day. Don't forget. 9/11, never forget. They always want to celebrate when it comes to them experiencing tragedies. But when we talk about what we've been through, they tell you forget about it. Why are you still talking about that? Why does that still bother you? I don't know if y'all read actual situations of books or information about the conditions of slavery. But I recommend it. I recommend everybody going on YouTube and listen to some of the recordings of the slaves that survived long enough to be put on a cassette or to be recorded and hear their voices. They barely could speak English. You barely could understand a word that comes out of their mouth because what they're speaking is uneducated, a broken language. That's the essence of Ebonics. You know that the master, you know, he took her, and we didn't let her go to get no water. And for 7 days we couldn't get no water. You can pick apart just little bit of words of what they're saying, but it's not even comprehensible because they weren't educated. They didn't read or write. They could sing, they could hum, they could dance, they could communicate with one another, but the language that we speak as English completely demolished. And they talk about wearing clothes until the clothes wore off. Not changing clothes, But you wear the shoes until the shoes fall off your body. You wear the clothes or hand-me-down clothes until they disintegrated off your body.
Come.
But I recommend everybody getting a feel who have foreparents who have endured these tragic situations to go back and revisit what it felt like to be a slave. Go back and revisit what it felt like to have no rights as a human, where dogs and animals were better fed than we were. Go back and listen, challenge yourself. Go talk to some old folks. Go talk to the older generation who remember their grandparents or great-grandparents, who have stories to tell you before the lights were supposedly light bulbs were made. How did they survive with no lights? How did they survive with no electricity? How did they survive with no clothing or a shelter, a shack made out of scrap wood and scrap metal, and a combination of mud, scrap wood, and scrap metal put together?
And everybody in the same one. Everybody in the same building, huh?
Yep. You got nine kids and 2 adults living in an open one-room house. No walls. Everybody sleeping on a pallet on the floor. It's dirt, sleeping on dirt. There's no carpet. There wasn't no carpet. It wasn't laying on carpet. It was laying on old material, wool blankets, burlap, potato sacks, or even had to wear potato sacks, burlap sack clothing. You know how itchy a potato sack is? That's just straight twine. That's made out of twine and wool. You know how itchy that is? And no, that's what you wear all day. Then you're outside all day. No AC, no air conditioning. We've been spoiled we're kind of detached from understanding what it was like to be conquered in America. We're kind of spoiled.
Come.
We're very spoiled. Because we can go to the sink and we can turn the water on and the water come right out. You didn't have no sink with no water. You didn't even you can get up and go to the bathroom at 4 in the morning in your house. You weren't getting up and going to the bathroom at 4 in the morning in your house. You went to a hole, you dug a hole outside, or you went to some outhouse with some coons and possums in it and other critters living in there. You know what I'm saying? We've been spoiled. If it's snowing, you still got to get up and go to that outhouse or go dig a hole in the snow. You didn't have the amenities that we possess today. We kind of get detached from envisioning what it's been like for our parents and our foreparents to have been in America for all this time. That's why we can easily dismiss it as being, oh man, that was a long time. You know what? It wasn't a long time ago. It actually wasn't that long ago.
Come.
You know, a lot of our people didn't even know what the hell a camera was. What is that?
Yeah.
What is that with the flash? He got the sunlight in his hands. How do you process things that you ain't never seen before, never heard of before?
What was so funny was when they banned the actual slave ship going to West Africa to America, there were still people doing it underground. So right. they stopped it officially on paper, but they would be going like to like 1900s out.
Oh yeah, with the ships, yeah.
They kept it going.
Everybody didn't quit slavery at the same time.
This is wrong on paper.
Right. Everybody didn't quit slavery at the same time.
Yeah.
They just came up with a date that said, okay, these were the last ships to go out. And also, they may have been the last ships to come to America, but not the last ones to go to Central and South America and the Caribbeans.
Yeah.
Because when you actually read about slavery, the British were the last people to get involved in slavery, and they kept it going. And then when that stopped, when it was abolished, they brought in some Indians from India into the Caribbeans to work them sugar canes. Just like they brought the Chinese to Mexico. They brought the Chinese as immigrants, indigenous workers into Mexico when slavery. They still had a slave population, a slave force. They were just Indians and Chinese. And they brought Chinese down to Panama to keep it going. But a lot of us are detached from really knowing what what it feels like to have homemade remedies as your only source of medicine. You got homemade remedies for all your life. You don't just, oh man, I feel sick, I'm just gonna get some medicine. Yeah, I don't feel good, I'm just gonna go to the pharmacy real quick and get some Tylenol. What, no Tylenol? It wasn't just so easy, you just pop something to feel better. You know, if you had an aneurysm, heart attack, you know what they just said? He got bad blood.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was bad blood. So wrong with your blood. He got diabetes, you got cataracts, he got bad blood. You got liver pain, you got a kidney stone, he got bad blood. That was the biggest and the most understanding we could figure out when it came to, because you know what? A lot of our knowledge of medicine was stripped. A lot of our knowledge of medicine of plants were stripped. And if we did have knowledge, the captors would take that knowledge, take those plants, and they would harvest them for money, for big business and industry. So you wouldn't go profit off that anyway. But a lot of us don't understand what it felt like to be in America 50, 75, 100, or 150 years ago. You wouldn't be where you are right now if you was in America 100 years ago. You wouldn't have the amenities you possess if you was in America 100 years ago. At best, you would be a maid 70 years ago. At best, you would be some type of wood crafter. You would be some type of home nurse. At best, you'd be working somewhere as a butler or a janitor. Even in the military, you would have been just a cook or a janitor. You weren't allowed to be in the World War II. After Germany fell, they brought German enemies were captured after the fall of Hitler in Berlin, were brought to America and were allowed to eat in white chow halls. These are the same people that just shot at you in submarines, because they had the first submarines, who shot at you in tanks because they had the first tanks, who shot at you in planes because they had planes, who shot at you with howitzer guns because howitzer is a German name, so they had howitzer missiles and howitzer ammunition. So they had their own weapons, who were directly decapitating you and were taken captives and brought to America and was given better treatment than we were as slaves, and they were the enemy.
They got jobs too, right?
And they got jobs.
Professors, right?
They became the tutors in elite colleges. They didn't let that good knowledge. They said knowledge is a terrible thing to waste. Huh? They said a German enemy got better treatment than your parents did, who've been here for years. That's why I say we read about this, and we don't really see the magnitude of the justice. You know, if our foreparents saw this, they would be applauding. They'd be crying because they couldn't believe finally justice. Or if you were brought up on some slave laws that if you didn't have a master, even during the Jim Crow era, if you didn't have a plantation that you belonged to, you automatically had to go to prison and work in the chain gang. You just couldn't wander around the city even after slavery. If you were caught just wandering around looking for a job, then you were taken and put in a prison camp to work in a prison camp until you died. They just found one of them prison camps in Houston. 88 bodies buried near the Astrodome when they were expanding the Astrodome or Reliant Stadium or whatever. 88 bodies in a prison style prison cemetery. 87 men and one woman. And when you died, you just were a hole was dug up and you was dumped in a hole. No headstone. No funeral service. No ashes to ashes, dust to dust. No, he's dead. He worked in the system till he died. Dig a hole and put him in there. Now all of a sudden, there's a black cemetery here. Native Americans killed by Texas Rangers, put them in a hole. put them in a hole. We are detached from understanding what we're watching. You should be applauding for what you see on TV. You should be excited about what you see on TV. Because it's the prophecy of the Most High bringing about justice to us who've had no justice. But read it again.
2 Maccabees 6, verse 12. Now I beseech those that read this book,
He said, I beg you that read this book. Go ahead.
that they be not discouraged for these calamities.
So when you see these things going on TV, you should be taking joy and having pleasure in watching the demise of a system that has oppressed your people for 400 years. You should be taking pleasure in it. Read on.
But that they judge those punishments
That you look at these things that you've gone through in America, not as the Most High has forgotten about us, not as the Most High has left us for dead, because he didn't. We just read a minute ago that he said, I will remember them. Read on.
but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction.
He says that they judge the captivity, our captivity in America, not for our destruction. Go ahead.
But for chastening.
But
of
it says, but the Most High used slavery. He used oppression. He used captivity. When Native Americans were here, they had to go to boys' school. That long Native American hair that black women love to cut off and weave in their head today, you know what I'm saying? That long Native American hair, that was cut. That was cut, and they got little boy haircuts, little Nero style haircuts,
Little bowl cuts.
little bowl cut. Look, and they came out of them fringes. They came out of they traditional Native American garments and took off their headdresses and took off their royal garments with beads on them, using turtle shells, you know what I'm saying, as instruments, and put them in some boys' school, teaching them English, arithmetic. Took away their names: Running Water, Swift Eagle, Red Feather. Your name is Charlie. Your name is Bill. Your name is Robert. So what he's saying is, he's showing that he said our captivity was just a chastening.
Chasten.
Go ahead.
To rebuke or a misfortune, having a restraining or moderating effect on. And then in the Latin it means to morally purify.
So the Most High said, I was purifying you with this punishment. I was purifying you with this captivity, with this 400 years of oppression. I was making you better. I was getting you to think about your actions so you can change your behavior. He says, you should be looking at this as a good experience for our people. It was necessary for our people. It was a necessary evil. But now our punishment is up. Our punishment is over. Read on.
But for a chastening of our nation.
He said, but it was for what?
A chastening of our nation.
It was a butt whooping.
More purification.
That's what it was for. He said it was a chastening for our nation. And you know what? Just like Hebrews, go to Hebrews real quick, chapter 12, verse 5, I believe, or 7. Let me get it real quick before you get there. Yeah, still hold Maccabees. We're going to come right back to it. 400 years of oppression. The scripture says, don't look at it the wrong way. Judge it as a chastening. Read verse 6.
What chapter did you want?
Hebrews chapter 12, verse 6.
Hebrews chapter 12, verse 6. For whom the Lord loveth,
He says, for whom the Lord loveth, go ahead.
he chasteneth.
So if the Most High loves you, it's really love. Slavery was love. Because it was a 400-year punishment. But it was a moral purification, is what the definition of chastening is. It was a necessary evil. It says, for whom the Lord loveth, read on.
He chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth.
It said he chastened and he scourged every son whom he received. So it was a qualification process. Can you take this punishment so that I can return this anger and now come back and be merciful to you? And now, instead of whooping you, now I can come back and bless you and show you love? Yes, sir. Yeah, what? You had your hand up?
Chasten, to piggyback off what Dalia said, to inflict suffering upon for purposes of moral improvement.
He said, read it again, the definition of chasten.
Chasten, to inflict suffering upon for purposes of moral improvement.
So why were we here in America for 400 years? So we could be better people. Damn it, it just shows you how disconnected we were from the Most High for him to have to put us here for so long. In previous captivities during the time of Judges, you read about after Joshua died and the Judges began, we were only in captivity for like 40 years at a time.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Just a little sit down.
We did a 40. I did a 40 bit.
Yeah, 400 year bit.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But 40 didn't turn to 400.
Yeah.
But it just shows you that it for our level of rebellion, it took 400 years to get us to see ourselves and to think about what we've been doing to the Most High.
God.
It took this kind of extreme captivity where your children were snatched up and sold on auction blocks in exchange for commercial goods. Your child was no much more value than a sack of wheat. Your child was of no more value than a bag of mustard seeds. Damn near your kid was equivalent to a sack of potatoes. But it took this much punishment in order for us to think about, man, wait a minute. How am I pissing the Most High off, and why is he having us to be agitated as a people? Why is it so necessary? Read that definition one more time.
Chasten, it says, to inflict suffering upon for purposes of moral improvement.
Now go back to Hebrews chapter 12.
And it also says right here, it says, to purify from errors or faults.
To purify from errors or faults. Perfect definition. Go back to Hebrews chapter 12.
You want the next verse?
Yeah, read that next verse. He said, for whom the Lord loveth, he does what?
Chasten.
He chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth.
Read on.
Verse 7. If ye endure chastening, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons.
He treats you like a what?
Son.
Son.
In order for the Most High to embrace his people, they have to be able to take his punishments and to take his chastisements, his purification. What it takes to purify us as a people, we have to endure that in order for the Most High to come to us and deal with us and show us love. Read on.
For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not?
Go ahead.
Exactly.
But if ye be without chastisement, chastising.
No, it said, but if ye be without chastisement, verse 8.
But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards.
If you don't go through what I have to put you through as a people, I'm going to look at you and treat you like a what?
Bastard.
A bastard is a fatherless child. I'm going to treat you like I don't know you. Like you're none of mine. You don't belong to me. I don't care about you. You're on your own. You by yourself. Whatever happens to you, oh well. You're not my responsibility. So it was necessary for us to go through what we've been through in America so that the Most High can return back to us and not look at us like bastards. Read on.
Then ye are bastards and not sons. Further,
Stop right there. Read verse 11.
Verse 11. Now, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous.
And that's why when you read, there's so many books written about slavery. There's so many books written about lynching, 100 years of lynching, the bullwhip days. There's so many books written about getting beat with the cat of nine tails, getting your flesh ripped off your body. There's so many books about curious and wild torture methods that was used on us.
You guys, this too. Also, I was looking at this book about slavery in Florida, And this is not as torturous, but no, they front as if they care so much about black women out, but they had women doing men's work during slavery out. So they had to have men's constitutions out to handle the workload.
God. And you know when what's her name that sang that song "Strange Fruit," man?
That was
Billie Holiday. Yeah, she was forced by the government to stop singing that song.
wow.
She was told she wasn't allowed to sing that song. She was singing anyway. It would be the last song of her set, and she would sing it anyway. She would sing this damn song anyway. Black bodies swinging in the trees. Yeah. Oh, the poplar trees.
Yeah, yeah.
The poplar tree. Yeah, it was the poplar tree. Strange fruit. Talking about the wind, sucking the blood out of their bodies.
And twisted mouth.
Twisted mouth. Yeah. The whole song is about what is this fruit that in the southern breeze. It was the southern breeze. What is this? What is this fruit that's hanging on this tree? That talking about the stench. She talked about this. Go look at the song up. She talked about the stench of the bodies. And they didn't want her to sing this song. But why was she singing the song? Right. Because her people were going through that. It came from a place from the bottom of her soul.
You know what's kind of funny too? A lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of pictures of Isabel being hung too. You just don't see them. Listen, if you go look it up, you will see. You already seen them out.
I'm gonna say that you can go. I'll tell you right now. You can go to the Marcus Garvey Museum in Austin. And it's only for us. That's only about an hour away. You go to the Marcus Garvey Museum in Austin, and there's a section dedicated to Hispanic culture in the Marcus Garvey Museum. And in that section, they show the violence that Mexicans had to endure while being in America. And there's pictures of the lynchings of Mexicans as well as blacks.
And women. So people still don't forget. People think they don't see the pictures. It didn't happen.
Right. So, it's proof. You can dig it up and look it up for yourself. And they put it in the museum. You can see it on the wall. And all the atrocities that they had to endure being in America. But the Most High said, this was our chastening. This was necessary to make us better people. Right? Read that again in verse 11. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11.
Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. Now, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of the righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby.
He said, if you endure the chastening of the Most High, if you allowed yourself to be chastened by the Most High, he said it'll yield something. It yields righteousness. That's the outcome of being chastened of the Most High. You become a better person, morally, behaviorally, mentally. Everything about you becomes better when you endure the chastening of the Most High. The entire time we've been here in America has been an ass whooping from the Most High.
Yeah.
That's what it's been. So now let that go and go back to where we at in 2 Maccabees.
2 Maccabees 6 and 13. For it is a token of his great goodness.
For this chastening is a blessing. The scriptures call it a token of his what?
Great goodness.
It's good to whoop your kids because it makes them better people. Well, what have we experienced as a nation of people? That's love. That's the Most High showing us love here in America, is having us go through the atrocities. Now, some of it has been extreme. A lot of it has been barbaric and extra cruel. You read about the jealousy of the master's wife, of how jealous she was of the beauty of the slaves. That she would provide extra torture on top of what the master had already put on the slave. Or deny them of food. Deny them of clothing. Or just say, I don't like this, beat this one some more. Or the barbarity of some slave masters that couldn't go to sleep unless they hear slaves being whipped to torture and crying and screaming. That gave them some type, that pacified them and gave them some type of meditative ability to go to sleep good. That's just extra cruelty on top of it. But when you look at what we had to endure. But our people are so pro-America. In the place where you have been not supported, your people have been tortured and anguished. But the Most High said, that was love. I'm sorry, go ahead. What you going to say?
I was gonna say, as far as I'm glad you pointed out the fact that the women were extra envious of the beauty of the slaves and tortured them more, and the children too.
Yep.
And we had to point it out because there's this illusion, there's this cloud that the white women struggle for freedom on. The black women gotta help her.
Yep.
The Hebrew women, the Hispanic women, and the Native American women, the black women gotta come together. We gotta make sure we help the white woman's suffrage out, because she has a burden right now. She can't compete with the white man. So we gotta gang up together and have this liberal coup against masculinity.
Right.
We gotta help fight against the masculine.
Our fight is your fight.
Yeah, they are with us for our liberty.
Listen, when schools were integrated,
Yeah.
it wasn't just white men throwing bricks. It wasn't just white men spitting on children that was just trying to go to school. I'm talking about spitting on a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Spitting on a 5-year-old. You couldn't go to a restaurant without getting spit in your food or something else put in your food and told to get out of my store. Your kind is not wanted here. Man, we've endured more than enough atrocity here in America. And now we're supposed to be sympathetic? Who was sympathetic to our torture? Nobody came to our rescue. No nation, no UN council came and fought for liberation of the slaves here in America.
Oh.
Who came to our aid? Chinese didn't go to war for us. Japanese didn't go to war for us. They watched. There was no League of Nations to free the black man and the Hispanic man of the atrocities of what he was going through in America. There still has been no charges put up on America for what we've endured. None. But that's why the Most High said, just be patient. Yes, sir.
What about when people say Abraham Lincoln was the one that
Abraham Lincoln,
He's a businessman. Huh?
Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves for unnecessary odds of gaining an upper hand in war versus the South. He wanted to make sure that, hey, we don't lose. It was his own political interest of why it was necessary. It wasn't out of the kindness of his heart. It wasn't because he was such a great man. His father Abraham Lincoln.
It's a chess move, huh?
Yeah, it was a power play. Listen, we may be outnumbered. That's why when you look at I'm glad you said that. When you look at Civil War numbers, they're said to be in the Civil War lasted 4 years, like 1861 to 1865. Around that time, around that time, about 4 year span. They're said to be 633,000 bodies that white men that were killed during, and that's not including the 54th. You know the movie Glory with Denzel. You know the 54th. You know what I'm saying? That ain't including the 54th Regiment and the other black battalions that fought during the Civil War also. But it's upward to say to be 633,000 white men died, and they're even saying that number was wrong. It was more than that. Over 350,000 was from the North. More white men died in the North than the South. And in the South, it was only 250,000 white deaths. Who took the most losses? The North. So what do you think they was freeing the slaves for? The majority of the slaves were where? In the South. So it was a political move. It was a chess move. It was a war move. It was a strategy. We need numbers. They got more slaves in the South. And then you think these rich oligarchy white men who owned plantations and had generational wealth from slavery wanted to give up their slaves, that free labor? You think anybody want to give up free labor? You got 85 slaves on your plantation pushing out $30,000 worth of tobacco a month. You want to give that away? You want to give that up? That was a move, man. Abraham Lincoln didn't care about us. He didn't care about us. The Most High put us there so that we can endure this chastening, which had a purpose. What was the purpose of the chastening? Go ahead.
For it is a token of his great goodness.
He said it was a what?
Token of his great goodness.
He said the Most High putting us in this place for punishment was his way of showing us love.
You got to hear this too, just so people can get a historical perspective on this also, with this whole narrative of the North was trying to free the slaves out. Y'all need to look up the Devil's Punch Bowl. Get a chance. There's a lot of Devil's Punch Bowl, but this is the one. Just put Devil's Punch Bowl on slavery. All right. There was 20,000 free slaves, and they were free. Like, you know how you go to war and they were, saving slaves, right? Well, the slaves that actually went to this place in Mississippi for freedom, they weren't given food, they were starved, and then they were put in this big hole, and they were all shot and killed out. And it just turned into blood. The water, it's this watery hole, and it turned red with blood. And they call it the Devil's Punch Bowl. And this was Union soldiers, not Confederate soldiers. This was Union soldiers. This is North soldiers. So our ancestors who believed that they were being free to a concentration camp where they died quick in the North or with the Northern Army. So the whole idea of the North was coming to save us out, if that was the case, then the military would have killed 20,000 of our people that were coming there for protection.
Those are massacres. And there's a lot of them. Damn near every state in the United States has some type of massacre that went on, either from the Native Americans, Hispanics, or the blacks. And who were peaceful at that. And some didn't even fight back. Some that did, they were outgunned with just shovels or some damn garden tools. They were outgunned and outnumbered using some prehistoric weaponry against some bullets. And the Gatling gun just made it even more easy to massacre the Native Americans. Because then they could saw them down like trees with thousands of rounds per minute. With the introduction of that Gatling gun, no bow and arrow had a chance. You had no chance with no damn bow and arrow. You got 1,000 rounds a minute coming at you. What chance do you have? There's a lot of massacres. Go read about the Dawson Creek massacre right here in San Antonio. It's right down the street. It's a stone right down by the cemetery. That's a national monument, but it's sitting right next to a bus stop. I doubt if anybody read it. It's called the Dawson Creek massacre right here. Right down the street. But people drive by, don't pay no attention. Shit, the Alamo was a massacre.
Concentration camp.
Yeah, it was
for Gatling.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Santa Ana got 5,000 troops killed. You know what a fort is? A fort is where a colonizer will put his colonists to subjugate and control the land, and then send government troops to their aid to protect them. And that's what a fort is. So in every state, when you got Fort so-and-so, Fort, like here, Fort Sam Houston, Fort Irwin, Fort Jackson, Fort Benning, all that a fort is a fortified place for the new colonists to come in and become the new citizens of that place, and they're protected with military guns and troops and ammunition. We come in, we take your land, and we set up a perimeter where we can function, live, work, and survive, and protect ourselves from invading people who want their land back. So what now people say is, Fort so-and-so. You know what? There's a bloody history to that Fort so-and-so. There's a bloody past connected with that fort. Because it was some white citizens coming in, invading, robbing and eliminating people off their territory, indigenous tribes off their territory, and setting up a perimeter. And saying, this is our water now. These are our buffalo. This is our creek. These are our trees. and this is our land,
You got to follow our laws.
and these are our laws. And if you try to fight back, we'll kill you. That's exactly what it is. But we're supposed to remember the Alamo. But the fort was built off that principle. But we're not supposed to forget that. Well, guess what? The Most High is not forgetting slavery. Read that again.
For it is a token of his great goodness.
We don't realize slavery was actually necessary for us. Read on.
When wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished.
If you whoop your child, that means you what? You love your child. Everybody knows this that's a parent. Or everybody that's been whooped by their parents understand that it was just love. Now some parents are extreme and overboard, but the majority of good parents, they don't want to whoop, they have to whoop. It don't please them to whoop. It's a necessary evil in order to put some type of border or some type of perimeter in the child's mind. To say, hey, listen, I have to set up some type of structure, limitations, boundaries. Otherwise, you're gonna do whatever the hell you want.
Spoil yourself, man.
So it's necessary. So now, what we've endured as a necessary punishment from the Most High, which is actually a token of His love, it's different than what He's doing with the people who took us captive that we're watching today. It's different. And He's going to explain the difference. What is the difference? What's the difference from us going through 400 years of oppression versus civil unrest amongst the children of the colonizers? What's the difference? Read on.
2 Maccabees 6:14. For not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbear to punish.
It says, not as other nations, whom the Most High what?
Patiently forbear to punish.
The Most High is patient with both of us. He's patient with His children, the children of Israel, but He's also patient with who?
The nation.
He's also patient with the nations. That's why it says, that's why the scriptures say the Most High lets the sun rise on the just and the what?
Unjust.
And the unjust. He's patient with both of us. You know what? He was patient with us, and He's patient with them. Now, for the Most High to put us in captivity for 400 years, do we really understand how we must have agitated and worked the nerves of the Most High to where He lost His patience to have to put us in captivity for 400 years? There's a reason why the Most High had to do what He did to us. But He also deals patiently with the other nations, but the outcomes are different.
Yeah.
So what were we doing? Damn near what are we doing today that would cause the Most High to come against us with 400 years of oppression? Go to Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 1. And we're going to come back to this in 2 Maccabees and break down the difference of why the Most High would allow us to endure 400 years of captivity and sting us the way He did, and let our enemies have 400 years of liberty. There's a difference. We understand, first of all, that the Most High did it out of love. It's the love of the Father that we endure chastity. Next, brother.
Ezekiel 22, what was the verse?
Verse 1. Start at verse
Ezekiel
1.
chapter 22, verse 1. It says, Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Now, thou son of man, wilt thou judge?
He says, "Son of man, are you gonna pass judgment on the children of Israel?" Because we gotta understand when we're reading this chapter, you would think He's talking about the enemy. You would think that He's talking about all the atrocities that the so-called white man has done and put upon our people. But He's talking about the atrocities that we do. Read on.
It says, Wilt thou judge the bloody city?
He says He calls Jerusalem what?
The bloody city?
It wasn't the white man. Now, sometimes we read about the bloody city, woe to the bloody city. Yes, it's talking about our captors. But in this particular chapter, it's talking about the dirt that we do. This is the reason why the Most High said that he was patient with us, But somewhere down the line, he had to punish us. So what did we do to the Most High that was so bloody? Read on.
Yea, thou shalt show her all her abomination.
He says, you will show you my people all their what?
Abomination.
Abomination. I'm going to show you why I had to take them through 400 years of hell. I'm going to show you why I had to punish them with slavery, lynching, mutilation, children being thrown as used as alligator bait in Florida, being molested, all these things. I'm going to show you why my anger and my nerves were so worked up against this people.
Yeah.
Read on.
Verse 3. It says, Then say thou, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, the city sheddeth blood.
He says our people became what?
Shedding blood.
We became murderers.
We are that now.
That's
today.
That's what I said.
Just think about it.
That's what I said. What's the difference?
I got married on my.
You know what?
It's our people. Right?
17th Street is against 18th Street.
Yep.
The Sureños is against the Norteños.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The Bloods is against the Crips.
It's our people still.
But it's still our people. BDs, GDs, Vice Lords, all these against rivals with each other. Same people. Same people, but against each other. He said we've come to where we didn't respect one another, neither did we care about the harm that we inflict upon each other. He says, woe to the bloody city.
Mm-hmm.
That's us. Read on.
It says, The city sheddeth blood in the midst of it.
And that's why there's inner city crime. Black on black crime, brown on brown crime. Every day in every city, depending on what city you live in, there'll be an average of 75 to 150 murders a month. A month. Some cities, you're looking at 500 murders a month. 1,000 murders a month. I mean a year. Crazy, man. Depending on where you live at. Go ahead.
It says, That her time may come, and maketh idols against herself to defile herself.
Go ahead.
Thou art become guilty.
He says, the Most High said, over a process of time, our people have become what?
Guilty.
Go ahead.
In thy blood that thou hast shed.
Because we've been raised as a bunch of murderers. We have no value for life. There's no value for life. We don't value each other's life.
We hate our own people more than we hate our oppressors.
Right. There is a hatred for one another. But we look up to their gods. We look up to John Gotti. We call ourselves John Gotti. We call ourselves Scarface. We call ourselves after Italian mobsters. We don't even come up with our own damn names. We emulate the gangsterism of the other nations. Al Capone. Jimmy Henchman. We name ourselves after these criminals. Read on.
It says, And hast defiled thyself in thine idols,
Go ahead.
which thou hast made,
Go ahead.
and thou hast caused thy days.
That's why we get them same Italian monsters tattooed on our bodies. We look up to criminals. We envy and emulate criminals. Those are our idols. That's who we want to be when we grow up. Read on.
It says, Has caused thy days to draw near, and art come even unto thy years. Therefore have I
You got to understand what he's saying right here. He says, thou hast caused thy days to draw near. He says, you're pissing me off. You're causing me to come against you by your behavior. That's why it says that causes thy days to draw near, meaning I'm about to put your days to an end. I'm not going to allow you to continue with this madness that you perpetrate amongst your own people. Read on.
and art come even unto thy years.
Go ahead.
Therefore have I made thee a reproach unto the heathen.
And this is how you know he's not talking about the heathens. He's talking about who? He's talking about us. This is why he said, because you don't value each other, because you don't care about each other, because you're so quick to shed blood between each other. He said, I'm going to make you a reproach to who?
Unto the heathen.
And that's exactly what the Most High did. And when we've been flooded over here in the transatlantic slave ship, we become flooded over here as slaves for the Spaniards, for the French, for the Italians, for the English, for the Dutch, for the Portuguese. That's why we speak their languages, not our languages. Because we didn't value each other's life. Read.
It says, and a mocking to all countries.
And that's why nobody came to our aid when we were taken in captivity. Nobody cared enough to fight for our cause. The Arabs didn't show up for us. The Chinese didn't show up for us. No other nation showed up for us. Besides, I'm just talking. The European Caucasian were the perpetrators, but who fought them for our sake? Go ahead.
Verse 5. It says, those that be near and those that be far from thee.
It said nobody came to our rescue when we were being taken by the millions and subjugated as slaves. Nobody near or nobody far off was fighting for our cause. And the Most High set it up that way. Read.
It says, those that be near and those that be far from thee shall mock thee.
Go ahead. But you know what? They took advantage of our captivity too.
Man, they got rich off that.
They got rich off that. You know what the Arabs did? They came and set up flea markets in our captivity. You know what the Chinese did? They came and set up nail shops in our captivity. You break, you buy. You break, you buy. No refund. Get out of my store.
Hurry up and buy.
Hurry up and buy. That was a mockery, man. You already see us in this condition of poverty. And you just come over here and all the other countries came over and we became loan sharks. I'm going to say this too, man. The fake Jews, they were major perpetrators in the slave trade. They financed some of the slave expeditions. Heavy players in the slave trade. Everybody took advantage of us while the Most High was stinging us. But it was our misbehavior and lack of love for one another that caused us to get in this position. But read on.
To mock thee, which are infamous and much vexed.
Hold on. Read it again.
Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 5. Those that be near and those that be far from thee shall mock thee.
He said, shall do what?
Mock thee.
They're gonna make fun of us, man. That's why they sell us. You know, you ever go to flea market now, and they sell you your hair. They ain't selling Chinese hair. They selling you fake hair that they know you like. They selling you fake Jordans. You know, it's a mockery. They even took George's name and put it in Chinese letters and built $1 billion industry in China of selling Jordans in China.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Say it again.
That bathing ape?
Bathing ape? Yeah. Crazy, man. They look at us like clowns.
I'll never forget that store they have in Asia called Nigger King.
Yeah, Nigger King.
If you want to buy streetwear, go to Nigger King. Look it up. Look up Nigger King. It's a store. That's where you buy all the sweatsuits and
all the urban wear. Yeah, all your urban wear is
Nigger King.
Is stuff. Yeah, it's real, man. It's a mockery, man. What you had a verse?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Psalms chapter 44, verse 13 and 14. It says, thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors,
Go ahead.
a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people.
You know when people shake their head at you? You know how they feel about you when a nation shakes their head at you? You know what that means? They're clowning you. They don't recognize you as a stand-up people, as a real people. They look at you as people that are necessary to be taken advantage of. You're bait to them. You're just a source of income for them. That's why there's a flea market in every hood. There's a liquor store in every hood. There's a loan place in every hood. That's why in your hood, everybody that makes money from other countries barely speak your language, but they damn sure taking your money. And they don't look at you as worthy of being respected. But they respect your dollar. They respect your money. But you know, as a people though, they take your money They don't put back into your communities. They don't invest back into your neighborhood. That raggedy ass flea market, they can care less of anything working as long as you come in there and you buy that damn Chinese made merchandise or that fake Jamaican Bob Marley damn hoodies and beanies. As long as you buy their merchandise, they don't care about you as a people.
They're exploiters.
That's exactly what they are. But the Most High made it this way because we were the ones at odds with each other. That's part of the punishment. But read on in the scripture.
Yeah, go
ahead.
Hosea 14:1, then Hosea 12:2. Hosea 14:1. Whoever got it.
Hosea chapter 14, verse 1.
Yeah.
O Israel, return unto the Lord thy power.
So the Most High said, come back to him, right? Read.
It says, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity.
By the Most High's iniquity?
By thine iniquity.
The nation's iniquity?
By thine iniquity.
We're falling because of our own iniquity, our own sin. Hosea 12:2.
Hosea chapter 12, verse 2. The Lord hath also a controversy with Judah.
He has a controversy with Judah, which is Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. Read.
And will punish Jacob according to his ways.
And Jacob's the whole nation. They're going to get punished according to what?
His ways.
The way we want to do things. Read.
According to his doings will he recompense him.
So the 400 years is a recompense according to whose doings?
Our own doings.
Our doings. We're going to fall by our what? Our iniquity.
Absolutely. Great verse. Go back to Ezekiel. Great verse. You know what it's showing? We caused this level of suffering in America to be brought on ourselves. But and people exploit that, take advantage of us in this position, in this low level, thugged out position. They laugh at us when our pants are sagging. Yeah. They laugh at us when our boxes are hanging out. They laugh at us when we fighting each other in the flea market or in the corner store. And we fighting over $1. And we kicking each other, beating each other for some change.
Killing each other.
Killing each other. They laugh at it.
Yeah.
They don't care about it. They promote it, matter of fact. They got more. You know what they see? They see what you into. You into foolishness, and they make a T-shirt with your foolishness, your slang, and whatever it is that you like to do. And you know what? Then they sell it right back to you. Yeah, an astonishment, a byword, a proverb. Read on. Read that in Ezekiel.
Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 5 again.
Verse 6.
Verse 6. Behold, the princes of Israel, every one were in thee to their power to shed blood.
Read on.
It says, in thee have they set light by father and mother.
It says, in thee have they set light by what?
Father and mother.
He says, this is, now he's talking about the other nations and what they've done to us too. Because you know what? The other nations lit us on fire. Use us for human torches. Mockery, man. Leave us hanging on the tree. I think it was them 3 brothers that got hung because a white man was shot and killed, and they didn't know who did it, so they found 3 young black men. It's one of the most famous damn lynchings pictures where the white man is pointing back at the niggas hanging. They found 3 brothers, and they brought them in jail. They said they did it, and the lynch mob showed up, and they took the bloody shirt off the white man, and they put it up on a flag. They put it up on a stick, and they waved it to show the bullet written in the bloody shirt that the white man spilled blood. And they did that to stoke the crowd and to incite the crowd and to agitate the crowd. So as the lynch mob came in and grew more and more agitated because they watching this this bloody shirt from this white man getting killed, they want blood. They want revenge. And they came in and broke into the jail, and as they brought each one of these young 18 to 21-year-old black men out of jail, some of them were dead before they even got outside. They blundered them with weapons, and pretty much they were already out of there, dead by the time they got them outside. Then by the time they got them outside, they strung them all up with ropes, and then what they did was they were supposed to bring them down. A lynching, you're supposed to bring them down, and they said no, we're not gonna let the coroner come in and bring them down. We're gonna put their bodies on display. We're gonna display their bodies so that if any other black man think they're gonna kill a white man, this is what he got. It was for an example. It left the men hanging for days.
Is that the Red Summer?
I don't know what it's called, but I know there's another situation where a slave was hung up in a tree, and the birds had already plucked his eyeballs out, and his arms were broken, and they had him up in the tree, and they said, "No, let him rot."
He had that white cloth on him, right?
Yeah. Another crazy. It's so many damn horror stories, but it's what they've done to us. But they have not done nothing that we haven't done to ourselves. We didn't care about following instruction. Read that again. Yeah, hold on one second. I want to make sure that this is clear. Read this right here.
Chapter 22, verse 7. It says, "In thee have they set light by father and mother."
It said that we didn't want to follow instruction. We want to do what we want to do. Go ahead.
It says, "In the midst of thee have they dealt by oppression
Go ahead.
with the stranger.
It says we've dealt by oppression with the stranger. Go ahead.
In thee have they vexed the fatherless and the widow."
He's talking about us. Now the nations did it to us too, but we did it to ourselves.
Yeah.
We stopped loving ourselves. We stopped caring about order. We stopped caring about structure, love. And that's why when a young black male dies or a young Hispanic male dies, they don't really trip because they say, "Why are you tripping? Y'all kill each other too.
Y'all do it too.
Y'all kill each other more than we do. Y'all die by each other's hands more than by a cop. You're more likely to die by your own people. Why are you so upset? We only do what y'all do. We see y'all do to each other. That's one reason why they don't feel so bad." Yeah.
What was the point to?
Go ahead.
And this is the other side of the card. When you're dealing with Issachar, you got them cutting each other's hearts out and sacrificing each other, tearing the skin off each other out,
Filleting
the entire skin out, and wearing a skin suit, and then getting in the skin suit out and wearing each other out.
Right. And this was done as at the festivals of the Aztecs, reported by the friars, the Spanish friars that came and saw what the festivals were like when they got to America. They would fillet the person that would get chosen would be happy to be chosen. And he would be filleted so fast, meaning he would be de-skinned, all of his skin taken off of his body. He would be de-skinned so quickly that he would still be alive. And he would have no skin on his body until he died off. That's how masterful that they were with filleting the body. You can read about this in, I believe, what you got is Conquest of America. I believe that's in Conquest of America by Totoro.
I've been looking for that point for a long time.
I think that's in there.
I got a picture of it in the Manning Tribe Aztec book.
It probably is in Conquest of America.
I think that's in Conquest of America. Go get it. If you don't have the book, go get it. The guy's last name is Totoro. Yeah, go get it. It's a great book, but it explains the torture that was brought here, but also the crazy things you brought up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And even to this day, you got at the border, you got cats. You go on YouTube about narcos out, cutting heads off, twisting them off on camera,
lynching each other on bridges.
And these are reasons that Esau uses to say, "Listen, why are you mad that? Are you upset that we're doing it too? We want to do it too. We want to join in the fun."
Right. Y'all don't care, so why should we care?
Because, like you said, we're not following instructions as a people. That's why I wanted to pull that point right there.
What?
But yeah, if you go to Proverbs 4, verse 13.
Proverbs chapter 4, verse 14, right?
Yeah, 13.
13.
It goes, I just want to point about us not listening. Proverbs 4 and 13.
Come. Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 14.
13.
Salah reads,
Uh-huh.
Take fast hold of instruction,
Hold on to instruction because we weren't listening. We weren't following instruction. Read.
Let her not go.
Don't let go of the instruction, which is the commandments. Read.
Keep her, for she is thy life.
When we follow the instructions, we have a good life as a people, right? Our communities are peaceful. Read on.
Enter not into the path of the wicked,
Don't go worshiping the idols of the Gentiles and the nations. Read.
and go not in the way of evil men.
Don't live, do, act, breathe, and operate like these evil men do. Read.
Avoid it. Pass not by it. Turn from it and pass away.
Don't mix with these people. No integration. Read.
For they sleep not.
Like Sean Shawan said earlier in the class. What they have to do to get to sleep. What do a lot of masters have to do to go to sleep? They had to cause some pain, right? We're going to read about that same thing in the scriptures. They sleep not. Read.
Except they have done mischief,
Read on.
and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall.
They can't sleep unless they cause some to fall. Unless someone's in some type of pain, they can't sleep. That masochist spirit is ingrained in them. Read on.
For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence.
So this is what nourishes them. They're nourished by negative and violence. But we want to be with them.
And this is why on every Netflix, on every Redbox, on every video game that children play, there's some type of shooting, there's some type of killing, there's some type of, every episode is Dexter, a homicidal maniac who lives as a doctor in the daytime, unsolved mysteries, CSI. It's always about, America is always about propagating violence. America has a relationship with violence. It has a relationship with murder. It has a relationship with bloodshed. That's why every kid game, they made killing fun in a kid world. They made the more bodies you kill, the more victorious you are. You get awarded, and you get levels of whether it's advancement in your style of weapons. You increase the ability to kill, the style of your weapon, or a bodysuit of armor. You get trinkets, and you get rewarded for killing more people. You get explosive devices. You got an armory at your disposal. This is why you got GTA. You can pimp women, sleep with women in a video game. This is what they propagate and feed your children from the time that they're little. At first it's they're just killing monsters. It's about you being a character, and you're killing monsters as a 4-year-old, as a 3-year-old. You're stepping on the monster's head. Then it goes to it starts off actually it's Candy Crush. You killing candies. You know what I'm saying? You killing candies first, and then it's the little birds that you fling, Angry Birds. Now you're killing birds and pigeons, and then it goes. You get a little bit older. Now you're killing humans.
Fortnite.
Now it's Fortnite. Now it's Black Ops.
Apex.
Now you shooting each other. Yeah.
They got one of his Medal of Honor or something where you shoot the brother and he'll fall. He actually beg you for his life. And you got a choice of whether or not to blow him away. And after he was in there begging you, please don't shoot me.
Now the ability to take life and have hearing somebody plead and beg is in your power now in a video game. Now you got all these type of ops games where you can connect and work as teams, as hitmen for hire, in teams, and operate together over the internet. Now you got groups going against each other. It's about, and you're surprised. There is no surprise why we adopt the American mentality and then wonder why there's a school shooter shooting up schools when he's been desensitized by violence. He's been desensitized by murder. Every TV show is sex, murder, and violence. And you wonder why your child is desensitized when it comes to sex, murder, and violence. But this is what Dawiyah is bringing out. That's why I say stay away from these people. Because that's in their nature. That's why they feed it to you morning, noon, and night. You can't watch something wholesome. You got to go back to Leave It to Beaver or Mr. Griffith or Andy or
Andy Griffith.
Andy Griffith or the damn the Brady Bunch. You gotta watch some black and white TV to get at least something of some type of wholesome television.
With no black people.
Yeah, with no black people in it.
No black people.
Three's, you can't even watch Three's Company because that's about a bachelor, you know, living with two women. You know what I'm saying? Jack Tripper. You can't even watch. What I'm saying is, it's all indoctrinated and fed to you. It ain't many choices that you have for wholesomeness and righteousness. But that's why the Most High said, listen, I don't want it found in you. You ain't supposed to carry these attributes. You're not supposed to. That's what Ezekiel 22 is about. You're not supposed to behave this way. Read on.
God. It reads, starting from the top.
Verse 8.
Verse 8.
Ezekiel 22 and 8.
Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 8. Thou hast despised mine holy things, and hast profaned my Sabbath.
And we don't honor the Sabbath anymore. Read on.
In thee are men that carry tales to shed blood.
And all you talk about is how many bodies you killed, whether in a video game or in the real life, with tattooed tears or gold teeth. However you put out there, man, that you a hitman for hire, you a murderer. All that's glorified amongst our music and is how many people we killed, and how we killed them. I hit him with the AK. I made him do a backflip like a gymnastic. I just made that up, but my point of it is, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just made it up, but I'm just saying, but that's the glorified, that's the glorification of it. It's how you killed them. You know what I'm saying? I killed them in style. I did it in fashion. You know what I'm saying?
Trick shot.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I hit him with the K. I hit him with the, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, the blammer, we glorify the llama.
With the llama.
Man, it's stupid, man.
Animal.
Yeah, but he's telling us this is what we do. He said, read that again.
It says, thou hast despised mine holy thing.
Go ahead.
And hast profaned my Sabbath.
That wasn't it. Verse 9.
Verse 9, it says, in thee.
He said, I find this amongst your people, which is the Most High saying, I'm finding this type of behavior amongst you, my people. He said, in you, go ahead,
are men that carry tales to shed blood.
All you talk about is how many people you can kill and what kind of weapon. You got 17, you got one in the chamber, you got Mossbergs, you got pumps, you got this. All you talk about is bodies and killing. But that's what's glorified from our enemies and put in the imagery of our minds. That's why I don't let my kids watch TV. So they don't play certain video games. That's why they don't have certain cable shows, cable channels. I try to limit access to, and even in social media, porn, nudity. You can only control so much.
It's common now. Very, very common.
You can only protect them and guide them from so much of what they're going to be indoctrinated with in this culture. But the Most High said, I don't want to find it in you. But the problem is, he says, in you I'm finding these things. Read on.
And in thee they eat upon the mountain.
Go ahead.
In the midst of thee they commit lewdness.
He says, in the midst of thee, he says, behind closed doors, we commit what?
Lewdness.
Go to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 6. Go to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 6. What kind of lewdness are our people doing that may not be put out in the streets? 18 and 6.
Leviticus 18 and 6. Read. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him.
You know what lewdness that be going on amongst black and Hispanic people?
You just said it.
Read it again.
None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him.
You know what? It's a lot of brother cousins amongst black and Hispanic people. I don't even know what to call it. That's your brother cousin. How the hell is he my brother and my cousin at the same time? Well, that's your mother's brother. He's your father, and you got brothers by him too. I'm laughing, but it's real. It's real. It's a lot of that. What some tribes, Ephraim, Manasseh, they into that taboo.
Yeah.
They into that incest.
That's a part of the religion.
It's a part of the culture. It's a part of the religion that they picked up along the way, that was brought here from West Africa. In order to raise up in certain power, in Brujeria, Santeria, all these different religious doctrines that came from West Africa, that originated, in order to become a priest or Babalao, you have to indulge in certain taboo, is what they call it.
To become a priest.
To become a priest. But it's that's to become a priest in those cultures. But amongst our people in the barrio, in the ghetto, nobody knew you was being taken advantage of by your own family members. Some of the most tragic moments come from who? The people that's closest to you. He said, this is the lewdness that the Most High said, I find in thee. That's lewd, man. Read that again. Leviticus 18:6.
Leviticus 18:6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him.
You ain't supposed to be dealing with your family members.
Yeah.
You ain't supposed to be groping up and filling up or trying to poke on your family members. But you know how common that is amongst our people? It's sick. Now you start to understand why 400 years of oppression and slavery was necessary. Because what goes on behind closed doors amongst our people, the Most High constitute is lewd. What else? Read on.
To uncover their nakedness.
Go ahead.
I am the Most High.
That's why, you know what, as much as you can, you keep sons and daughters separate. The daughter got to have her own room. You got 4 boys and a girl, she get her own room. Put the 4 boys in the damn room. And even when we got 4 boys in the room, you still got to be careful what the hell they doing in the room. Laying on the top of each other. Hugging each other too long. Kissing each other in the mouth. You got to put that to cease. All these things, the Most High said, is lewd. You gotta be careful who you let watch your kids. Family members at that. Read on.
The nakedness of thy father, or the nakedness of thy mother,
Read on.
shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother.
You ain't supposed to be looking at your mom in that fashion. So you gotta close the door. Don't lock the door. I'm getting dressed. You can't come in here. Mind your business. Get the hell out of my room.
So there's definite roles and there's definite boundaries we're supposed to keep as a people.
God, this is lewdness. Read on.
Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness.
Read.
The nakedness of thy father's what? Shalt thou not uncover.
You know what? Even if that's your father's wife, that ain't your mother. You still ain't supposed to be dealing with her.
What are you saying? Stepmom.
Stepmom, stepdads. I'm in a relationship with the stepmom, and I married my stepson. I got divorced with the father, and I married my stepson. The hell?
It's a real thing.
Crazy, man. Now I'm brother dad. Read on.
It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad.
Don't matter. Read on.
Even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover.
He said, but this is what the Most High said. This is why he told Ezekiel, I find this amongst you. I find this behavior in thee. You do this when nobody's paying attention. You got these things going on in your household. This is how you operate. And you wonder why I had to bring down the hammer with slavery, and slavery had to be so severe. Because we're a lewd people. Go back to Ezekiel.
Ezekiel chapter 22, now verse 10. In thee have they discovered their father's nakedness. In thee.
He said, I also found this in you too. Read.
It says, in thee have they humbled her that was set apart for pollution.
Go to Leviticus chapter 15, verse 19, so we understand what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Go to Leviticus chapter 15, verse 19, so we understand exactly what he's talking about.
Leviticus chapter 15, verse 19. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days.
How long is she supposed to be separated if a woman's on a cycle?
7 days.
Go ahead.
And whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening.
And so you ain't supposed to touch a woman on a cycle. Go ahead.
And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean.
And everything she touched supposed to be unclean. So you ain't supposed to touch nothing she touched. That's a time for purification. But in this day and age, in this time, in thee, what the Most High said he finds among our people is what? Go back to Ezekiel chapter 22 and read that again, that second portion.
Ezekiel chapter 22, we're now right here. It says, "In thee have they humbled her that is set apart for pollution."
It says, in thee, they have humbled her that was set. You know what? We indulge. And we found some type of pleasure somewhere in this lewdness.
Yeah.
We think it's okay to deal with a woman while she's on a cycle.
There's a naughtiness that Israel wants to partake in.
There's an impatience to that. You can't wait. You're that extreme, that compulsive, that out of bounds. But he said, this is what I find in thee. Read on.
Verse 11. It says, "And one hath committed abomination with his neighbor's wife."
It says, and one has committed abomination with who?
His neighbor's wife.
Go to Deuteronomy chapter 23. Yeah, let's go to Leviticus
You said Deuteronomy what?
23. And read give me verse hold that. Finish reading that in Ezekiel.
Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse
11.
11. It says, "And one hath committed abomination with his neighbor's wife, and another hath lewdly defiled his daughter-in-law, and another in thee hath humbled his sister, his father's daughter."
Man, go ahead. No, hold on. Let that go. Hold that in Deuteronomy. We're gonna come back to it. Read on.
Verse 12. It says, "In thee have they taken gifts to shed blood."
Everybody talks about putting a price on somebody's head. That's all they rap about. I put 10 bands on your head.
He said, "I get your whole family wiped out for less than a G."
I put a stack on your head. Every rapper is rapping about, I got shooters that I've paid to take you out. This is what people they find amusing. He said we put a price on people's head. You don't like that person? Let me knock them off for you. Just make sure you give me 10 bands.
Yeah.
Give me 10 bands, I make that person disappear. These are hitmen for hire. He said, but that's supposed to be found in other nations. Other nations do that. He said, but I find this behavior in you. Your people do this. Read that again.
And also too, on the 9.5 side, you got narco songs. I know we know about those songs. I'm not perfect in Spanish. When you hear the songs are about the stories of the conquering of other different families, right? From what people I've talked to, the narco songs are just like the rap songs are. It's just a different style of music.
Yep.
Ezekiel chapter 22 verse 12. "In thee have they taken gifts to shed blood."
That's when you put a hit on somebody's head. That is now amongst us and our people. You read about this amongst Italian mobsters. You don't read. You ain't supposed to see that amongst our people. That ain't our thing. But it's become our thing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was listening to this Hebrew rap song the other day. And he said in his song how he'll put it.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Literally.
And then he said we can understand and act like nothing happened.
Not a Hebrew music song. In a Hebrew rap song, you talking about putting a hit on somebody.
In the truth.
Stop.
Yes, in the truth.
Come on, Al.
That's what he said.
Come on, bro.
Scripture ain't lying.
Bro, come on. Read on. You know what? I don't want to believe it, but I believe it. And
Thou hast taken usury and increase And thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion.
It says we've greedily gained our neighbors by what?
Extortion.
By extortion. So now he said, you're not supposed to put taxes on your people. But now go to Deuteronomy 23:19. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. Whoever had it, whoever was holding it.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 19 reads, Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother.
Go ahead. You ain't supposed to be taxing your brother, man. You ain't supposed to be telling him, well, you know what, you better pay me back. And since you know what I'm saying, you inconvenienced me, you know, I need you to give me this plus that.
Interest.
I need interest on top of whatever it is I gave. He said you ain't supposed to be dealing with each other like that. He said we find this behavior amongst the Most High. Said I find this in you. You deal with your brother like that. You just can't do a favor with a brother. Just can't do a favor without expecting some hell of a damn increase on top of that favor. Read on.
Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother.
Go ahead.
Usury of money, usury of victuals, usury
Whether
of
you borrow somebody, man, you borrow somebody's car. Man, I want you borrow. You know what? You borrow my car for a day. I want you. Now you gotta pay my car note. Now you gotta pay my damn insurance. Now you gotta put gas in it. Used to be, you know, hey man, I fill up your gas tank. That ain't good enough now. I want you to fill up my gas tank and pay insurance. I want you to pay insurance and pay the car note. You just can't borrow and put gas in it? What happened to that? Read.
Usury of anything that is lent upon usury.
Go ahead.
Unto a stranger.
Unto who?
Unto a stranger.
You supposed to tax who?
Unto a stranger.
You're supposed to tax the nations, not your people. Unto a stranger, go ahead.
Thou mayest lend upon usury.
Go ahead.
But unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury.
Go ahead.
That the Lord thy power may bless thee in all that thou settest thy hand to in the land whither thou goest to possess it.
Now go back, let that go and go back to Ezekiel 22.
Yep. Ezekiel chapter 22 verse 12, middle portion. It says, And thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion, and hast forgotten me, saith the Lord Yahweh.
And you know what? We brag about hitting licks on each other. We brag about taking advantage of each other. We brag about catching each other slipping. We brag about this behavior, man. The Most High said, I find this in you. Read on.
Behold, therefore, I have smitten mine hand at thy dishonest gain.
I'll sell dope to you, knowing that it's destroying you, just for the sake of what?
Gain.
Gain. I know that if I sell you this dope, the household structure is going to go to hell. I know I'm going to take away the structure of that family. But I'm going to break you mentally and make you a chemically dependent upon me so that I can get money. The Most High said, I find this behavior in thee. We do anything for money. We sell each other out for money. Read on.
It says, Which thou hast made, and at thy blood which hath been in the midst of thee.
Go ahead.
It says, Can thine heart endure?
He says, that's why the Most High is telling Ezekiel, can you watch this? How long can you watch this for? How long can you stand this amongst your people? How long are you going to let this go on and say nothing? Read on.
Or can thine hands be strong in the days that I shall deal with thee?
He says, but in the day that the Most High is going to deal with us, he says, can thy hands be strong? Clean hands make a man what?
Stronger and stronger.
The only way that we're going to be strong in these last days, because we have become a corrupt people. The whole purpose of slavery was to teach us a moral lesson. We've already forgotten the lesson as a people. We're damn near worse than the damn people that brought us over here when it comes to how we deal with each other. Read on.
I, the Lord, have spoken it and will do it.
He said, I'm going to do it. Go ahead. Do what? Read on.
And I will scatter thee.
What did the Most High say? Because of all these things that the Most High said he found in us, I'm going to do what?
And I will scatter thee among the heathen.
That's why we got conquered. Because of all these what he called lewd things, is why we had to get conquered as a people. But that's why we had to get taken on slave ships and getting fed cornmeal for about 45 days, chained to the bottom of a ship that was a lot of times taking in water because there was too many slaves on it. And there was barely enough food to be passed around even to those that were slave masters. You know, when you read about slavery, a lot of the conditions were so severe that a lot of the slaves, as quick as they can, jumped over the ship and drowned themselves. And not only because the conditions was bad for them, the conditions were so bad to the seamen, that these explorers that was out to make money, the condition was so bad for them, as soon as they got to an island, they quit. You don't even read about that. But a lot of seafaring game enthusiasts, money enthusiasts that became part of the slave trade, a lot of them young men, the white men, they couldn't even take the conditions. They quit the job and said, man, we can't do this. You had to be a hard, damn, greedy-ass pirate of a white man and to come from extreme poverty to endure those conditions on that slave ship. It was bad for both parties. They said the smell and the dysentery would be so bad that it would often make the seamen sick. They would get sick trying to feed the slaves, going down into the bottom of the ship and the hole of the ship to feed the slaves cornmeal. The smell was so overwhelming, they would throw up and they would get infected with viruses. They would be sick. It was that bad. So why would the Most High have to put us through this condition? He said, because I found you guilty of all these things.
Yeah.
That's why I had to scatter you to the heathen. That's why you had to endure such a horrendous episode of a butt whooping of chastisement in America for 400 years. Read on.
And disperse thee in the countries.
He said, that's why I put you in all the countries. That's why you call yourself African American. That's why you call yourself a Mexican American. That's why you call yourself a Chicano, a Latino. That's why you call yourself a black. That's why you call yourself colored. That's why you call yourself everything but who you are. You call yourself a Jamaican, a Puerto Rican. You call yourself Rich Port. You call yourself after names that the Most High never gave you. He said because we were defiled as a people. So slavery was necessary. Read on.
It says, and will consume thy filthiness out of thee.
He said, and I'm going to make sure that this slavery is so intense that it's going to break you.
It's going to consume the filthiness.
It's going to break you.
It did.
And you have to understand, why did we have to get whipped so hard to where the skin and the meat would just fly off our bodies? Why did we have to get stripped naked to get whipped? They would strip you naked. And wherever the damn whip land, it land on your back, it land on your neck, it land on your thigh, it land off that sensitive tissue below the thigh, that thigh meat. Whatever it hit, it hit. If it hit your genitals, if the whip wrapped around your body and hit your genitals, so what? Your whole body was exposed to being tortured. But look at the filthiness that was in us that caused the Most High to be agitated with us so bad to where he had to give us to our enemies and scatter us all over the world. Read on.
Verse 16. And thou shalt take thine inheritance in thyself in the sight of the heathen.
He said, I'm going to give you what you owe. And your enemies are going to watch you receive it. Because all this punishment you deserve. Read on.
And thou shalt know that I am the Lord.
And what was the purpose of this punishment?
So we know that who the Most High is.
So you can recognize who's in charge. So you can recognize who's over you and who you should be serving.
And not the other way around.
Right. That's why the slavery was so intense. Now go back to 2 Maccabees so we can understand what he's saying of how he deals with us and why this was so necessary. Go back to 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and start at verse 13.
Come. 2 Maccabees 6 and 13. For it is a token of his great goodness.
It's a what?
Token of his great goodness. when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished.
He said, it's a great thing. It's a great thing that wicked doers are punished. Because the Most High, that's necessary in order for the Most High to come back and return to us to give us mercy. Read on.
For not as with other nations.
But the Most High deals with us different. He puts us in torture under the hand of our enemies, and the conditions are severe. He said, but he deals with the nations a little different. How does the Most High deal with the nations? Read on.
For not as with other nations, whom the Most High patiently forbear to punish.
The Most High punishes us because he loves us, but the other nations, he lets them go continually be wicked until he's sick of them. I'm going to prove it. Go to Genesis chapter 15. Go to Genesis chapter 15 and read verse 16.
Genesis chapter 15, verse 16.
Let me get that. Read it loud to you. Start at verse 14.
Verse 14. And also that nation whom they shall serve,
And this is the Most High talking to Abraham. Go ahead.
will I judge.
He says, and that nation that y'all going to be taking captivity in slavery under, he says, there going to come a time to where I'm going to punish them too. I'm just going to punish y'all first because I love y'all. I'm going to deal with them nations second. They're not going to get away with putting y'all in captivity. Even though I set y'all up to be under their hand, you're still going to get it too. The nations are going to get it too. We had to get it first because the Most High loved us. Mm-hmm. He says, but that nation who taken you captive, I'm going to judge them too. Read on.
And afterward shall they come out with great substance.
And he says, you know what? And when they come out, this is the Most High telling Abraham about Egypt. We know America is spiritual Egypt. He says they're going to come out with what?
Great substance.
He says we're going to come out of here with great substance. As this place starts to dissolve, we're going to become rich. Read on.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age.
Go ahead.
But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again.
He said, but they're going to come back into captivity. Go ahead.
For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
Because the Most High said, but I'll completely destroy their enemies once the iniquity of the what?
Amorites is not yet full.
So what the Most High does is, the way he punishes the other nations, he lets them continually be wicked.
Stack up.
And it stacks up against them until he's tired of the stench of them. Once he's tired of the stench and the sin of other nations and the pollution of other nations, is when he pulls the plug and wipes them out. But that's not how he deals with us. He puts us under captivity in strenuous conditions that are painful so we can recognize that we've gone astray and come back and serve him and love him.
Which is mercy.
Which is mercy. But the other nations, he lets them continue in their wickedness until their pot is full, until their cup is full. Go to Leviticus chapter 18 real quick. Leviticus chapter 18 and read verse 20. Hold on, let me get it. Leviticus chapter 18, start at verse 24.
Okay. Leviticus chapter 18 verse 24 reads, defile not ye yourselves.
It says what?
Defile not ye yourselves.
You're supposed to disconnect from the nations. Read on.
In any of these things.
Go ahead.
For in all these the nations are defiled.
Go ahead.
Which I cast out before you.
Now jump down. He says, and when you defile yourself, I'll cast you out. Jump down to verse 28.
Verse 28. That the land spew not you out also, when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you.
He says, but if you get defiled, I'm going to do the same thing to you as I do to the nations. Once the nations make me sick, I kick them off the land and I destroy them. He says, but you, I only destroy you temporarily, which is mercy. I only destroy you for a certain time period, which is mercy. Now go back to 2 Maccabees chapter 6.
2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 14 from the top. For not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they become to the fullness of their sin.
Until they what?
Of the fullness of their sin.
It says the Most High is patient with the other nations until they come to the fullness of their sin. Once the Most High is tired of these other nations, he destroys them completely and forever. They never rise up again. But us, we only get punished for a time period because it's mercy and it's a period of chastisement and correction. Read on.
So dealeth he with
2
us.
Maccabees 6. But how he says, but the Most High deals with us differently. What verse you on?
15.
This is how the Most High deals with them. It's a difference from how he deals from us. Read on.
Lest that being come to the height of sin.
He says he doesn't let us get to the height of sin. Once we get so wicked, the Most High steps in and punishes us. So and we cry unto him, and it allows him to come back and be merciful to us. That's how the Most High deals with us as his people. But the other nations, they get allotted a time period to be wicked. But there's no coming back to him afterwards. So what we're watching is judgment from the Most High being bestowed upon our enemies now. And as their kingdom starts to fall, there's no coming back for them once it falls. Read on.
Afterwards, he should take vengeance of us. And therefore, he never withdraweth his mercy from us.
He said that's why the Most High never withdraws his mercy from us, because he constantly punishes us immediately for when we get out of line with him. America's been wicked for 400 years. Now it's time for their judgment from the Most High. Read on.
And though he punished with adversity.
And though he punished with what?
Adversity.
And that's exactly what slavery has been. It's been what?
Adversity.
Read on.
Yet doth he never forsake his people.
But he will never do what?
Forsake his people.
Exactly. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 17, start at verse 10. But the Most High will never forsake us completely. He'll watch us go through some severe punishment and slavery, but he'll never forsake us. Ecclesiastes chapter 17, verse 10.
Okay. Ecclesiastes chapter 17, verse what?
10.
Verse 10 reads, and the elect shall praise his holy name.
Because we're the ones chosen by the Most High to serve him. Read on.
Beside this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for an inheritance.
And he never gave this to anybody else. The Most High never gave the law to no other nations, right? Psalms 147, 19 and 20, right? Read that.
Okay.
Who got it?
I mean, at the what is it?
Psalms 147, verse 19 and 20.
Psalms 147.
No other nation has been, verse 19 and 20.
19 to 20.
No other nation has been given the ability or the opportunity to serve the Most High like we have. Read that.
Psalms 147 and 19. He shewed his word unto Jacob.
He only showed his word, his mind frame to who?
Jacob.
Read on.
His statutes and his judgments unto
His
Israel.
laws and his punishments were only meant for who?
Israel.
That's why when Kawakab was going over Revelations 11, and he says, and the Gentiles that are without the court, leave out, judge not. Because they weren't given the law to be judged. Only we were given the law to be judged. I believe that's Revelation 11 and 3. Only we're the ones given the law and were given the ability to serve the Most High, and also would be punished if we decided not to obey those laws and commandments. That judgment is the punishment for not following the laws. Read on.
He hath not dealt so with any nation.
It says he have not what?
Dealt so with any
The
nation.
Most High doesn't have any other nation under contract like he has us under contract. We were the only ones given a standard of living that the Most High wanted us to abide by, and if we chose not to, we'd be punished for. That's why slavery was so damn painful. And nobody else in the world had to go through what we've gone through. Nobody can match the torture and torment of 400 years of oppression of free slave labor, building up an entire kingdom, making a bunch of pirates and so-called immigrants, which were trailer trash of Europe, because that's exactly who were the forerunners of America, was the damn slave traders. Those were the trailer trash of Europe. Those were the ones who didn't have any stake in any money. They didn't have any notoriety. They were not honorable people. History calls those individuals, those slave traders, a feckless generation. A low body of people, a base people. Only thing they had in their eyes was dollar signs. Driven by gold and lust and riches and land. He said, but us. He let us get punished by them because we're the ones under contract. He didn't give anybody his laws but us. That's why we had to go through slavery. Read on.
And as for his judgments,
Go ahead.
they have not known them.
Read on.
Praise ye the Most High.
This is a one-on-one relationship that we have as the Most High's people and the Most High's people only. This is a one-on-one relationship. The other day we got a question on the comments. What about the Lithuanians? What about the Lithuanians? What about any other nation? This is about our people. Ain't no Lithuanians come save us when we was in slavery. No Lithuanians fighting for us. No Mongolians fighting for us. No Baltic nations, Slavic nations fighting for us. Wasn't no Aryan nations fighting for us. Nobody was fighting for us. But this is a one-on-one relationship that the Most High has with us. Now go back to where we was at in Ezekiel 17 and 10. Ecclesiastes, I mean.
Ecclesiastes chapter 17,
Verse 11.
verse 11 reads, Besides this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for a heritage. He made an everlasting covenant with them.
Go ahead.
And shewed them his judgments.
And that's why it matches exactly what we just read in Psalms. Oh, the Most High is dealing with us as a people. Read on. The fall of America, we've played our role in America. We were the slaves. We were the conquered. We've played our role. We were the punished. We're the ones fulfilling out captivity, just like the Most High prophesied in Deuteronomy 28. We played our role. Now they got to play their role. They got to play the role of being spewed out and kicked off and cast out of the Most High's sight. Read on.
Their eyes saw the majesty of his glory.
Go ahead.
And their ears heard his glorious voice.
Read on.
And he said unto them, Beware of all unrighteousness.
The Most High been warning us to beware of what?
All unrighteousness.
Let the nations be the nations. Let them be whoever they are. Let them be the criminals. Let them be the murderers. Let them be the gangsters. Let them be the killers. Let them be the greedy wealth mongers. Let them be whoever the hell they are. He said, but for us, he said, beware of what?
All unrighteousness.
Read on.
And he gave every man commandment concerning his neighbor.
Go ahead.
Their ways are ever before him.
Go ahead. He said, I gave you a commandment that teaches you how to treat your people, how to love your brother, how to treat one another. Read on.
Their ways are ever before him and shall not be hid from his eyes.
Go ahead.
Every man.
You know what they're saying? The Most High always has you on display. You will forever be under the magnifying glass of the Most High. So watch yourself. The Most High, because he has you under a contract, he has you under you're the ones bound by these laws. You will forever be watched by the Most High. You're the one that has to pay for what you do wrong that's contrary to the laws of the Most High, not the other nations. The Most High has let the other nations run their course. Read on.
Yeah.
Verse 16 reads, Every man from his youth is given to evil.
Go ahead.
neither could they make to themselves fleshy hearts for stone.
Go ahead.
For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people.
Go ahead.
But Israel is the Lord's portion.
Every other nation has a king and a ruler. But the children of Israel, we're not supposed to be Trump supporters. We're not supposed to be Biden supporters. We're not supposed to be Obama supporters. We're supposed to be connected with who?
The Lord.
The Most High. That's who our king is. That's our president. That's our leader. We're not supposed to go crazy over what's going on in the Capitol Hill. So what? Let them invade and bombard Capitol Hill. That's not our place. That's not the place where our laws come from anyway. That's where they make their legislation. That's where their laws are born, is in Capitol Hill. That's where their senators abide and their Congress makes decisions, not ours. They don't make decisions for us. Here in this realm, in the spiritual realm, no. They have power to rule us because we've been subjugated by the Most High under their control. But we have a leader. And Capitol Hill is not our capital. When you look at the origin and the root of Capitol Hill, it's all based upon Saturn. Saturn is the Roman god of capital and wealth. The Greeks called him Zeus or Kronos, the god of wealth, the supreme god of the heavens, the god of thunder and lightning and wealth and agriculture. That's why it's founded. That's why it's even called Capitol Hill. Because it's named after Roman deities and Roman mythology. It ain't got nothing to do with us. They've been trying to infiltrate us and force Capitol Hill on us. We just read this a couple days ago. Go to 2 Maccabees real quick and read that real fast. 2 Maccabees chapter 7.
2 Maccabees chapter 7.
And I want you to start at chapter 6. 2 Maccabees chapter 6, 1 through 3.
2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1.
1 through 4.
Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers.
We just read last week about it was Eleazar. Read on.
And not to live after the laws of the Most High.
They're always trying to get us not to follow our commandments and our laws. When you read about the time of Diocletian, the Roman ruler, around 300 AD, Diocletian was one of the more foremost killers of Christians. He's the one that has probably the greatest body count to persecuting the Christians that believed in the Most High in Christ. When you read about Diocletian, he's the one that set up the Circus Maximus. The damn circus that could hold 250,000 people. And guess who was put on display? Guess who was eaten alive by wild beasts? Israel was. He had the largest fun with tormenting and persecuting our people. They've been trying to get us to not follow the Most High. This damn fall of Capitol Hill ain't got nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us. Read on.
And to pollute also the temple of Jerusalem.
And they always wanted to pollute and make it our business to infiltrate our laws and our holy places and put their statues, their imagery, and get us to follow after their customs and mythology. They've been trying to do this. Read on.
And to call it the temple of Jupiter.
And call it the what?
The temple of Jupiter.
And guess what the temple of Jupiter is? Capitol Hill. That's the temple of Jupiter. Capitol Hill. Read on.
And to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius.
Go ahead.
And that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers.
It was in Capitol Hill was the worship of three Roman gods: Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. And all of them played a different role in Roman mythology. And they all lived at Capitol Hill. And they've always been trying to infiltrate us and make us try to care about their gods. We don't care about what's going on in Capitol Hill. What pertains to us is what the Most High has given us to follow, which is his laws, statutes, and commandments. Go ahead.
As they did desire that dwelt in the place.
Go ahead.
The coming in of this mischief.
It says the coming in of this what?
Mischief was sore and grievous to the people.
So yeah, it's been damn Capitol Hill that's been punishing us the whole time. The people that believe in Capitol Hill. They're the biggest damn enemies of ours. In Roman times and Trump supporters in American times. Let them storm the damn Capitol. Read on.
For the temple was filled with riot.
And what's going on in the temple of Capitol Hill today?
Riot.
What's happening today? Right. January 6th, 2021. What's going on in the temple right now in the temple of damn Jupiter?
Right.
In Capitol Hill today?
Right.
Damn right. Is the Most High lying?
Nah.
Go ahead.
For the temple was filled with riot and reveling.
And they going crazy in there. Breaking windows. Going crazy. Taking over the place. Storming the hill. Storming the damn Capitol Hill. Go ahead.
By the Gentile.
By who?
The Gentile.
Guess who's up in Capitol Hill storming it right now?
The Gentile.
But they used to storm Jerusalem the same way. That's nothing new. There's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. Make America great again. The MAGA hat wearers. It's nothing new under the sun. But that has nothing to do with us as a people. That's just the Most High prophesying their fall. Go to Mark chapter, I know it says in Matthew. It's Mark chapter, truth of it is, we got to go to Daniel chapter 2 real quick. Because we got to show where this originates. Let's go to Daniel chapter 2. We're not going to break down the whole thing. We have to save that for another day. But let's just get to the meat of what's going on today and where we're at. Give me Daniel chapter 2. I'm going to tell you where to start at. Because we don't need to read the whole thing. We'll save that for later. But we want to show exactly where we at and why what's going on makes so much sense in the Bible. Because the Most High already prophesied the downfall of this place. And give me verse 40. And I'm give me something else too. Hold on. Go ahead. Start at verse 40.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 40 reads.
No, start at verse verse 40. I'm sorry.
Verse 40 reads, "And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron."
Now, when you go through the vision that Daniel had, just to get everybody caught up, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He saw an image. It was terrible, and it was made of different metals. It was one statue, but it was made of different elements. It had a head of gold. It had arms and breasts of silver. It had a thigh and legs of brass. And then it had legs of iron. It had feet mixed with iron and clay. What Daniel saw that he interpreted for Nebuchadnezzar was all the coming kingdoms that actually make up this terrible statue. Because they all have something in common. They all derive from one another. They have something in common. So Daniel explained to Nebuchadnezzar that the head of gold was the kingdom of Babylon. When you read about the kingdom of Babylon, gold was everywhere. Jewelry was everywhere. It was a very wealthy kingdom. They had the 7 wonders of the world. They had, which was one of the 7 wonders of the world, which was the Hanging Gardens in Babylon, which was a garden sitting on top of an elevated platform with big, huge trees growing on top. Took 100 people every day with buckets to go down to the river to water the gardens constantly. You know what I'm saying? By hand every day in order to create that. Never before has it been created on earth. Also in Babylon, you had Ishtar's Gate. You had a variety of magnificent structures in Babylon. Babylon was wealthy. They had a lot of knowledge. They had knowledge of sorcery, astronomy, astrology, mathematics, polynomials. Not just funny.
That's funny.
I had to go there, brother. But you know what I'm saying? But they were wealthy in knowledge and understanding. Plus, they had sorcerers that were able to read the times. Necromancy, talking to the dead. They had knowledge. So they were that head of gold. That was around 586 BC. Silver was the Persian Media Empire, which came 538 BC. Then the thigh of brass and the thigh and stomach of brass, that was the Greek Empire, 333 BC. I'm just giving a quick rundown. Then the legs of iron, that's what we read about right now. That was the coming of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire started being an influence in the world in 227 BC, and for 200 years they shared power with the Greeks. So there was a Greco-Roman Empire for 200 years until 27 BC. In 27 BC, the Romans became the dominant influence in the whole world. All right, so that's just a quick rundown. Now, in this image, they all make up a demon, an adversary to Israel. So now let's pick up at verse 40. The fourth kingdom, which is the Roman Empire, and he said these are the attributes of the Roman Empire. Read.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron.
He said the fourth kingdom shall be what?
Strong as iron.
Now, iron represents the Roman army. The Roman army was also known historically as the ironclad army. They were actually called known historically as the ironclad army. You know, they were a force. They trained, when you read about how the Roman legionnaires trained, they trained so severely that a lot of times their training shed blood. They were actually causing each other pain and inflicting themselves with wounds during their training. Their training was so severe so that it made war actually easy. That's how they trained. You know what I'm saying? So they were fierce, and they were a fierce opponent, and they had a variety of machinery or mechanisms or tactics that they could invade you with. They had catapults. They had engineers that would design a strategy to attack their enemies. So the Romans were a force to be reckoned with, and that's why the Romans conquered the world and stamped out the whole world. That's why in history they say all roads lead to Rome, because it didn't take them that long to conquer the known world at the time, and they smashed out the Persian Media Empire as well. You know what I'm saying? They took out the Persian Media Empire. So read on.
For as much as iron breaketh in pieces,
Go ahead.
and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these,
And that's how they went about conquering, is through their military. Go ahead.
shall it break in pieces and bruise.
It says they shall break in pieces but bruise, meaning they will take losses but they will rise again. That historically was said to be the time when Septimius Severus, an African American ruler or African general born in Carthage, came in 193 AD, who was a general, took over and became Caesar, and ruled Rome from 193 AD to 211 AD, which was 18 years of rulership under an African power. That's when Rome was ruled by a black man and his descendants for a while. Go ahead. And if you can go get the books on Septimius Severus. He was an African who ruled Rome. Go ahead.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of martyrs.
No.
I'm going to read it. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay.
It says the feet and the toes. The toes, of course, the feet is an extension to the leg. What he's talking about is the extension of Rome is America. America is that kingdom that was the last kingdom starting from head to toe in Nebuchadnezzar's dream. The feet is an extension of the leg. So America is an extension of the Roman Empire. How so? Rome was a democracy. Rome was ruled by a Caesar. America is ruled by a Senate. By a president. Rome had a Senate. America has a Senate. So Rome was ruled by aristocrats, the wealthy. The wealthy in America make laws. They're the lawmakers. So in education, matter of fact, the Constitution was based upon the Roman 12 Tables of Law. The Roman 12 Tables of Law is where America adopted a lot of its laws from. You look at the school system, the education system was adopted off of a Roman education system. Kindergarten, or I don't say kindergarten, but elementary school was created by the Roman Empire, and then it stopped when you had a young man become an apprentice, and then he would go off to become through his apprenticeship, he would go learn from a master or a master of the craft. That's basically a collegiate level. When a Roman citizen became 18, he was off to an apprentice school. It's no different than now. You get about 18, you finish high school, you go to college, and you get skilled and highly educated in a specific field or a specific skill. That whole system of education was created by the Roman Empire. So the mythology of Rome is followed by America. That's why America still celebrates Christmas, which is actually Saturnalia of Rome. That's why we have a Capitol Hill in America, because it's based off the construction of Roman Colosseums. That's why we have amphitheaters. That's why we have stadiums. That's why we have games. The Romans were known for games. The Romans at their height had 140 something holidays in a year. 93 of those holidays were committed to games. That's what you get: soccer, NFL, baseball, NBA. All these are the games that are put on in America that are just a repeat of the Roman Empire. Give the people games, give them entertainment. That's why you got The Voice. That's why you got all these shows, because it's all about, say it again, UFC. It's blood sports. The Romans were known for these things, for combatants, Roman combatants. So that's what it was all about. Rome became famous for its Colosseums. America has become famous for its sports. So it's just an extension of the Roman Empire in every single way. From its holidays to its the way it's set up, its legislative system, judicial system. The whole entire kit and caboodle of America is an offshoot of Rome.
Some of their architecture.
Yeah, the architecture, Colosseums, the arches, Roman arches, cathedrals, all these theaters, amphitheaters. All this is just an extension of Rome. Rome was known for theaters. So was Greece. But read.
God. Daniel chapter 2 verse 41 reads, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron."
It says, this is the problem. Does iron mix with clay?
No.
So he's saying that the extension of Rome, which is America, he said it will be part strong, and the strong part is the iron part, which is its military, which represents its military. Even though America is very weak, its military is still its strongest attribute. This is the only reason why other countries hate America, but have yet to become an enemy to America.
Come and take it.
Yeah, come and take it. Yeah, but it's more so their technology and their weaponry is their strong suit. That's what they pride themselves in. Is their satellite ability, their interstellar weapons, their intercontinental weapons, their weapons that they can reach from. They can go out of the atmosphere and re-enter the atmosphere and bomb you from another place. It's laser beams that are now equipped on Navy aircraft carriers that shoots invisible lasers that can disable your vehicles. It's pulse weapons, it's sound weapons, it's chemical weapons. He said it's part strong, but it's what?
And part of iron.
And it's part of iron. Go ahead.
The kingdom
But it's also part of clay. And that clay is the weak side of America. Even as of today, they just announced that even in Air Force training, they're no longer going to, they're cutting down basic training a week or two. They're taking off combatants in basic training. They're taking off chemical weapon training in basic training. They're taking off field training, how to dress a wound. They're taking all these things that are primary tools of you're on a battlefield and you don't know how to take care of somebody that's been wounded. They're taking these things and removing these things as non-essential elements of the military. They even came out years ago with stress cards when soldiers were having too much stress. They get to pull out a stress card in basic training. Not like when our parents went to basic training, when they were allowed to get kicked and beat on and thrown in a swamp and then sent off to Vietnam to die. it's almost plush. They can have their cell phones. You're almost spoiling them. You're not even preparing them for what they're about to see on that battlefield. And they're coming with a unisex uniform. A uniform that a man and a woman could wear. It's a unisex one. Army just went to pink shirts. Look it up. They just went to pink shirts. Pink dress shirts. When they wear their dress uniform. Pink and green is the new Army color for their dress uniform. But all these things, he said, is partly strong, but it's partly weak. It's iron mixed with clay, and you know that iron and clay are two different elements. They don't mix. And that's what he's saying the last kingdom shall be. It shall be a kingdom that as much as they try to bring it together, it shall not mix, it shall not merge. It's not going to happen. Go ahead, read on. What verse you want?
41.
Read verse 41.
God, I'm gonna reread it from the question. Part of potter's clay and part of iron.
Read on.
The kingdom shall be divided.
It says the kingdom shall be what?
Divided.
And in this last kingdom, it shall be what?
Divided.
It shall be divided. Now, when you look at what's going on right now in America, it is what?
Divided.
When you look at the Vietnam War, what did the Vietnam War do to America?
Divided.
It divided it. When you look at the Civil War in America, what did it do to America?
Divided.
It's always been what?
Divided.
It's always been divided. And when you go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 25, it says what? I want the one in Mark, man. I got to find this scripture in Mark. I want the one in Mark. Read Matthew 12 and 25, and we'll find
Matthew chapter 12, verse 25.
kingdom divided against itself.
So not stand.
And
I got Mark
Yahushua knew their thoughts, and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself.
Stop. Let that go. I want the one in Mark. Mark chapter 3, verse 24.
Mark 3 and 24. Read.
Yep.
Mark 3 and 24.
Read that.
And if a kingdom be divided against itself.
What does the Bible say?
If a kingdom be divided against itself.
What are we watching today storming the Capitol?
A kingdom divided against itself.
What did we watch after Vietnam?
A kingdom divided against itself.
There were thousands and thousands of anti-government protests during Vietnam. That's what sparked the hippie era. Civil War. When 500,000 people of the same stock died. They even have recorded history where brothers fought brothers between the North and the South. He said, but a kingdom divided against what?
Itself.
Go ahead.
That house cannot stand.
It said whether it's a kingdom or whether it's a house. Go ahead.
That house cannot stand.
Read on.
And if Satan rise up against himself.
And even if Satan himself doesn't have his legions and his demons in order, then what?
And be divided.
If Satan is divided, go ahead.
He cannot stand.
Satan can't even stand when he's divided. Nothing can stand and survive when it's divided. And that's one of the number one attributes of the fourth kingdom of Daniel chapter 2, verse around 40 something. That last kingdom that's partly clay, partly iron, that's the extension of the Roman Empire. One of the main attributes is that it will be divided. What are we watching today in America?
Divided.
Is the Bible accurate? Is the prophecy accurate? You know what I'm saying? It's exactly where the Most High wants it at. Divided. And that is coming out of the words of Christ. Christ is speaking right here. He said a kingdom divided or a house divided or even Satan divided against himself shall not what?
Stand.
Read on.
But have an end.
But it what?
Have an end.
Read that again. What did Christ say when a kingdom is divided?
Have an end.
It says when you divide a kingdom, a house, or a city, he said it hath an end. It comes to an end. The reason why the Most High put the spirit of division in that last kingdom, in that fourth kingdom of Daniel chapter 2 verse 41, is to explain that you're watching the what? The division is where it ends. It doesn't get any better from here. It doesn't get any better from after the division. For them. So the reason why we're reading that the fourth kingdom is at the toes, at the bottom half of of civilization, Nebuchadnezzar being 586 BC, America being 2020 or 1776, so to speak, it is marking the end of this statue that Daniel saw in his sleep, that the Most High gave him to interpret to Nebuchadnezzar, to show that your kingdom and the kingdom after you and the kingdom after that and the kingdom after that and the kingdom after that is going to come to an end. All of these kingdoms that represents a defiance of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, that have been enemies to his people, and have taken, each one of them kingdoms have taken the Most High's children in captivity. And so what we're watching, when we watch today's news, you're watching the end of a kingdom. Because Christ said, a kingdom that's divided hath an end. Now go back to where we're at in Daniel chapter 2.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 41 from the top. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes.
Now they got the Stop the Steal campaign going on in America. The presidency has been stolen. It's Esau against Esau. Same way it was in Vietnam. Same way it was in the Civil War. This is a kingdom divide. And the irony of it is, it's called the United States.
It's kind of funny.
That is kind of funny. But read on.
Part of potter's clay and part of iron.
And that's what makes it strong, is the iron. That's the military. What makes it weak is the fact that there's too much infighting. Gays versus straights, blacks versus whites, rich versus poor, Republicans versus Democrats. You know what I'm saying? The church against pedophiles. That's what makes it strong. They said all these things are within this fourth kingdom. Pro-choice, pro-life. It's your body, it's your choice.
It's a big player.
But it's division. And the Most High has brought the division to bring about an end of this unified demon that Daniel saw. Read on.
The kingdom shall be divided.
It shall be what?
Divided.
Read on.
But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron.
It says, but in the kingdom, what keeps it strong, and the only thing that keeps it strong, is that iron. That iron represents its military. That's the only thing that keeps this place strong. But I'll tell you this. But read on. Never mind. Read on.
For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with murried clay.
Go ahead.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay.
Read on.
So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
It shall be partly. So America is partly strong and it's partly broken. It's just showing you today that its government today is breaking down. A president that has been elected out of office and doesn't want to leave. It's partly strong and it's partly broken. Military is still strong. Its intelligence programs are strong. Its cyber warfare operations are strong. Its satellite programs are strong. Its space exploration programs are strong. But the inner workings, the education is broken. The educational system is last, damn near, amongst developed nations. The prison system is broken. There's no rehabilitation. It's only legal slavery. The laws are broken. They're only meant for the wealthy. They're one-sided. It's breaking down. Read on.
And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with murried clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men.
It says they shall try to invite, and America has brought in all these so-called immigrants. And they get citizenship. And they get to be Americans under the promise that there's liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that they're all supposed to pledge under one banner. You know how weird it must have felt to be a Japanese person and having Japanese citizenship, and you watch America drop 2 bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and those are your people? You know how that? You know what? But America's idea is that you're supposed to be okay with it, or you have Afghanistanians that live here, but yet we're at war with Afghanistan. But that's their people. But you got their people in the military, and you wonder why there's defectors. You wonder why there's the Chinese are coming over here stealing secrets and selling it back to the Chinese government. You wonder why you got Russian implants coming in, selling information, vital information, back to Russia. He said, as much as you try to create this unified system where everybody's happy in America, America is just a theory. It's just an idea. He said, as much as you try to merge people together under the fact that we're Americans, and we should take pride in America, but it was built off bloodshed. It was built off hypocrisy. Read on.
They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men.
Go ahead.
But they shall not cleave one to another.
And that's why in America you still got Germantown. That's why you got Little Italy.
Chinatown.
That's why you got Chinatown. That's why you got Little Havana. That's why you got the Amish side of America, where the Amish stick with the Amish. Yes.
Habakkuk 2:12.
Read that.
Habakkuk 2:12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
It says destruction to him that what?
Buildeth a town with blood.
Go ahead.
And establish a city by iniquity.
And establish a city by what?
Iniquity.
Iniquity. How has America been established?
Blood and iniquity.
By blood and iniquity. So there is no duration in that. There's judgment remaining for people that build a society like that. What is that? Exodus 21? Real quick. Is that Exodus 21? Exodus 21. It might be Exodus 21. I might. He that still at the man?
No, it's the law of slavery, right?
Mm-hmm. Is that Exodus 21?
Let me see.
Man, I'm tripping, man.
Yes. It's Exodus 21:16.
Yeah, Exodus 21:16. Read that. I'm tripping. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 21, verse 16. And he that stealeth a man.
How was America founded?
And he that stealeth a man.
How many people got stolen?
Countless.
Can you count?
No.
You can't even count. Because a lot of ones that got stolen died in the process of being stolen. Kidnapped. Go ahead.
It says, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him.
And do what?
And selleth him.
How many men and women and children that were stolen and sold in America? America has a history of stealing and selling. Read.
It says, or if he be found in his hand.
Or they say possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah.
Guess where the stolen merchandise is? We're still here.
Howdy, neighbor.
What's the judgment for the Most High?
It says, he shall surely be put to death.
So what's the judgment for the Most High for America?
Death.
Death. It should be put to an end. You know why? Because it was founded off blood. It was founded off rape, robbery, and murder. And it's dissolving right before our eyes. And it's breaking down right in front of us. Yes, sir.
I got a scripture.
Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 13 and verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
Go ahead.
He that killeth with the sword
Go ahead.
must be killed with the sword.
And what do you call this? Read on.
Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
And this is what we should be rejoicing in. And this is what we should be waiting for. And what you're watching on TV as of today is the society that's being broken down, that's partly strong and partly weak. And because it's divided, it's collapsing. Go back to Daniel.
God. Daniel's chapter 2 and verse 41 again. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes.
No, we're at 43.
Okay, God. 43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with merry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another.
And that's why they don't understand why there's no unity. That's why there's constant protests, constant buildings burning, constant upheaval. And it's been this way the whole time in America. You have people that are resisting the oppression of their enemies and of their captors. But yet they want this idea of a unified nation, a unified kingdom. And the Most High said that at the end it shall not be. Read on.
Even as iron is mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed.
He says, but this kingdom shall come to an end, and the next kingdom that's coming shall what?
Shall be destroyed.
Shall never be destroyed. Shall never be destroyed. So when we get more time, we'll go through and I know Kawakab is masterful at breaking down Daniel's chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, chapter 8. But we're going to go through and touch on this chapter 2 a little bit more because we kind of jumped to the end. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to bring this up because this is exactly what Daniel prophesied was going to befall the fourth kingdom in his vision. Yes.
Positive note.
Yes, sir.
Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 through 9. I'm going to power read it. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. It says, be not deceived. The Most High is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well doing. For in due season we shall reap if we faint not.
That's right. That's a good verse. It said, but you know what? This is not for us to get weak. This is for them to be troubled. Because this is the dissolving of their kingdom. Because it's divided. When you divide anything, it doesn't last. A marriage, a household, a city, a nation, it can't win. It can't sustain forever when it's divided. When you look at China, what keeps China so strong is the control they have over all the people, and then all the people believe in one Chinese government. And they believe in Chinese empowerment, and they believe in Chinese nationalism, and that's what keeps them strong. But what we got over here has to come to an end. It was prophesied that way. So with that, we want to go and say shalom.
Shalom.
And so it's kind of like a current event type class, but just showing that the Most High is right on time, man. All right? I'm going to say shalom. So the water for listening, the water for coming out and checking us out. Hopefully it was some edification. All right? So shalom.
Yo, black man.